welcome to the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. This is our Tuesday, November 17th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. And I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask our clerk to go ahead and go over the rules of procedures and then call the roll.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. Before I call the roll, I would like to note for the record that all 5 supervisors are participating via teleconference. As such, all votes will be handled by a roll call vote. Additionally, before we begin, any members of the public that wish to provide oral testimony during today's meeting, please review the instructions posted on the Clerk of the Board's webpage. I'll remind members of the public that have requested to speak to wait to dial into the meeting until the item is called. With that, I'll now call the roll. Supervisor Jacob?
Here.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Present.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Fletcher here.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Here.
Chairman Cox?
Cox here. We'll go ahead and start our meeting today with an invocation. Today we are honored to have with us Pastor Richard Schmidt from the Concordia Church in Chula Vista. He will lead us in the invocation, and then at the completion of that, I'll ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which I'll go ahead and lead. So Pastor Schmidt, if you'd please lead us in the invocation.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. O Almighty God, Creator and sustainer of all that is, how excellent is your name in all the earth. In your infinite wisdom, you established government to provide order in your world, to protect the cause of right, to serve the needs of your people, to provide for the protection of the people of the land. Bless this County Board of Supervisors as they meet and deliberate today. Bless Chairman Cox, Diane Jacob, Kristen Gaspar, Nathan Fletcher, and Jim Desmond. Lord, we thank you for their service to this community. Bless and honor them for their service and help them to impact San Diego County for good. Thank you for their special efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic. In this most challenging of times, give them special wisdom and strength as they seek to lead and to guide us and to keep us both physically and economically safe. Continue to aid their efforts to help those who have been most affected by this pandemic to rebuild their lives and their businesses. Give them uncommon wisdom and discernment and insight, and help them to act wisely in these days. Give them honesty and integrity and the ability to make sound judgments. Bless their deliberations and decisions that this county might be a better place through their actions. According to your mercy, Lord, hear our prayer and bless our land. Amen.
Pastor Schmidt, we sincerely thank you for the invocation. I've had a chance to know Pastor Schmidt for the, last 15, 20 years, and it's a pleasure to have you with us this morning, Pastor. This time,
thank you, sir.
This time I'd ask you to please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our nation's flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now move into our presentations and announcements of awards and proclamations. And the next 3 proclamations are presented really in kind of a bittersweet environment because we're recognizing 3 individuals that have worked for the County of San Diego for a collective 84 years. And that's been 84 years of dedicated service. First proclamation is going to be to honor Thomas E. Montgomery. So I'm going to ask Tom if he would go down to the lectern. We will have some nice words to say about you. I'll give an opportunity for my colleagues to add any additional comments. I know that our Chief Administrative Officer wants to say a few words also, but you will be given the last opportunity, the last words, if you will, after the presentation of this proclamation. Whereas Thomas E. Montgomery has faithfully and diligently served the County of San Diego for 36 years, having been essential in advising on all legal matters for the County of San Diego. Tom joined the County Department of County Counsel in 1984, where he excelled through the ranks and was promoted to Chief Deputy County Counsel in 2000, and has long been recognized for his integrity, dedication, and value-driven decision-making. Tom Montgomery became the Assistant County Counsel in 2003, where he served with the utmost level of ethics, integrity, and honesty. In 2011, Tom was named County Counsel, where he has successfully led the department in addressing major legal obstacles such as redevelopment, major land use development projects, legislative changes, charter amendments, and sage legal counsel, and done it all with a true sense of responsibility to our county. Tom holds the most successful litigation record of any county counsel in the history of the county, with a 96% win record. Only the Padres could achieve that. Tom has repeatedly been recognized throughout the state by his county counsel colleagues as a role model, mentor, and expert legal professional, including serving 4 years on the County Councils Association of California Executive Board, and also as that association's president. Tom has always led by example, encouraging justice and serving as an ethical and fair leader. During the county's response to the COVID-19 pandemic, as county counsel, Tom has provided sound legal guidance and advice, and his responsive leadership has been essential to the county's ability to address the region's public health needs. Tom leaves a legacy of leadership, integrity, dedication, excellence, humor, and authenticity that made all who worked with him grateful for his service and grateful for the opportunity to have known him throughout his career. So for all of these reasons, on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors, we wanted on this 17th day of November 2020 to commend Thomas E. Montgomery for his distinguished service to the County of San Diego and the people of San Diego County. And we do hereby declare this day to be Thomas E. Montgomery Day throughout San Diego County. Tom, I have to tell you, I've had the pleasure of working with you many, many years. I have always appreciated your wise counsel, your great sense of humor, but most important of all, your sense of integrity and honesty and ethical approach to the legal profession. You will be missed by the County of San Diego. Now let me turn to some of my colleagues. I'm sure Supervisor Jacob will have some words you would like to add.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I've gotten to know and work with Tom almost as long as I've been on the Board of Supervisors. And I have to say, Tom, I've really enjoyed our hearty discussions sometimes over some of the legal recommendations that you provided us, but it's been good, it's been healthy. But most of all, it's been a great honor and a pleasure for me to know you, to work with you. You are a solid individual, and I will miss you, but I'm sure that you'll be riding off in the sunset on your horse, probably. So the best to you, and thank you again for your great service to the county.
Let me ask if any of my other colleagues have any comments that they would like to make. Supervisor Desmond?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And Tom Montgomery, you've done a fantastic job. I know we've only been able to work together for a couple of short years, but throughout that time, you've always given wise counsel. Your heart has always been in the right place for the County of San Diego, watching out for, not only the institution itself, but also to all of the residents of San Diego County. So I appreciate, it's been great working with you. Going to miss you. We appreciate you training Mr. Bunton in the way you have, and you'll truly be missed. And just thank you for your many, many years of service.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other comments from my colleagues? Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Tom, as a new member of the board, I appreciate the experience you bring. I appreciate the thoughtfulness, and I appreciate the willingness to engage and always be willing to take dissenting or counter points under consideration and advisement and have them shape. And in particular in COVID, where we've worked daily, charting our response, navigating the various legal issues, the implications of orders and what will happen and whatnot. Oftentimes the public does not see the incredible and tireless work of folks 7 days a week throughout a situation like this. And I certainly appreciate and value public service and those who commit themselves to it. And you have done that at the highest levels, and our county is very grateful for your service and everything you've done.
Very good. Thank you, Supervisor.
Mr.
Tom?
Chairman, simply
Yes.
put, I love working with Tom. I've had really challenging conversations with Tom. We have kind of an inside joke that for every year that I've served on the board, he had to find a yes answer, because most of the time when you work with attorneys, lawyers, and such, the answer is always no. But the cool thing about Tom is he always looks for, what is that path to yes? What does that look like? And he is a man that I have deep respect for. It really has been an honor to work with you over these years. I know retirement will be great. You often see Tom running all throughout San Diego County on his lunch hour. I have a scrapbook of those funny photos catching Tom on his lunch hour doing his exercise. But Tom, what an honor it's been to work with you, and best of luck in your retirement as well.
Well, Tom, before we give you an opportunity to speak, we always want to give our Chief Administrative Officer the opportunity to have the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, let me just say thank you, Tom. Anybody that knows me knows there isn't any decision I make without first consulting Tom. He is the wisest person I've ever worked with. He has been there looking out for this county in ways that are unimaginable. Every thought he has is about how do we do the right thing for the people, how do we do the right thing for the board, and then how do we do the right thing for our employees. There are very few people that can live up to that standard. You have been in my office pretty much 24 hours a day for 7 days a week. We might as well have shared the office together and saved the county some money, just because I bounce everything off of you. I'm not afraid to ask you really tough questions, and you're certainly not afraid to challenge me, and I really do appreciate that. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a big shout out to Gay Montgomery. She is the woman behind this man's success. She has been there supporting him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, when he's only giving her a few hours a day. And she has been a valuable member of our county team from the home fires. And let me tell you, she has shared you with us for a lot longer than she wanted to, but she has done that for her love for you and her love for this county. So a big shout out to Gay Montgomery for giving you to us and allowing us to have you. You have been a real treasure. I will miss you deeply. So thank you very much for everything you have done. And on behalf of the board and all of the employees and the management team, we give you this proclamation to hang on the wall, hopefully not in the barn, although your barn is nicer than my house. But you will always be remembered here for your many, many contributions. So thank you very much.
Well, now, Tom, you truly do get the last word, so have at it.
Okay, and I will keep this short because somebody once said that the attorney should really be like the long snapper on the football team. You don't ever want to hear from them, because if you did, something really bad has happened. The only thing that I want to say is what an honor it's been to serve with the Board of Supervisors. It's really, sometimes it's been challenging, but usually it's been an awful lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Being working with with Helen and the management team has been also an honor and also great fun. And really all of the credit needs to go to, I know where the credit goes, and that's to all the talented lawyers and staff that are in the Office of County Counsel, because it's not me that gets it done. It's all the lawyers and counsel staff that have done just an amazing job, and it's just one of the greatest law offices in the state of California. I truly believe that, and I wouldn't be able to do anything without them. So thank you very much. I really appreciate the honor.
I have long and consistently said that the County of San Diego has the best damn law firm in the state of California, and I truly believe that. Tom, thank you for your service to the county. Again, 36 years, unbelievable. The next proclamation is going to be presented to Michael Haas, And Michael has faithfully and diligently served the County of San Diego for 26 years, having been essential in keeping the county and its systems operating smoothly. Michael began his county career in 1994 as the Assistant Registrar of Voters, where he was critically involved in ensuring the transparency of the county election system. In 1996, Michael was promoted to Registrar of Voters, where he oversaw the complex operations of the county's voting systems and the successful implementation of significant operational changes that improved the processing of votes in our county. Throughout his career, Michael has risen to lead the departments of Registrar of Voters on numerous occasions, totaling 7 years, during which he also served as the Director of Housing and Community Development, where he led with vision and integrity. In 2001, Michael Haas was promoted to Director of Animal Services, where he instituted a number of key management practices that stressed customer service and improved the service delivery systems and care for animals and residents. Michael was appointed as Deputy Chief Officer, Administrative Officer, and General Manager for the Community Services Group in 2007, where he was instrumental in leading the Department of Animal Services, Purchasing and Contracting, General Services, County Libraries, and Registrar of Voters with character and purpose. In 2012, Michael was named the Chief Information Officer, and in this position has overseen the successful development and delivery of critical county technology needs while implementing practices that prioritize accountability, customer service, and teamwork, leading to the successful management of the county's $700 million IT outsourcing contract. Michael Haas leaves a legacy of dedication, excellence, leadership, respect, and authenticity that made all who worked with him very grateful to have known him throughout his career. For all of these reasons, on behalf of all of my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors, we wanted to thank Michael D. Haas and commend Michael D. Haas for his distinguished service to the County of San Diego and the people of San Diego County. And we have declared this day to be Michael D. Haas Day throughout San Diego County. On a personal note, I have to tell you, I don't know of anybody that has held more positions at the County of San Diego than Michael Haas. And that's a good thing. He is what you would call in baseball or any sport, a utility player, a team player, and somebody that has just done a tremendous service to the residents of San Diego County. I have to tell you, I first met Michael when he was a young cub reporter for the Chula Vista Star News, and I was a young city council member. That was many, many years ago. And obviously over the years, not only did he have his service here, but he was the assistant county clerk for the city of San Diego for, I think, another 11 years. And so he's retiring with a tremendous record of service to the citizens of this region. Michael, we wish you the best in your retirement. And I know that Supervisor Jacob, I'm sure, will have some additional comments she would like to make.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And congratulations, Michael, on 27 years of service to the county and the people that we serve. I think what Greg has lined out, you have unique management skills. You quietly have done a superb job of managing various departments, as the chairman indicated. And I remember when I came on the board and then you came on in '94, I called you Mickle. And we laughed a lot about that because I couldn't quite understand why your name was spelled that way. But you were very nice in correcting me that it's not Mickle, it's Michael. And we went on from there. But I have, for one, enjoyed working with you over the years. I wish you the very best. I remember one day seeing you walking into Home Depot. No, it was Dixie Line in La Mesa, and getting some things done out there. So I expect to see you around the hood and opening up a new chapter of your life. The best to you. And thank you again.
Okay, let me ask if any of my colleagues have some additional comments they would like to make. Vice Chairman Desmond?
Well, I just want to say, Michael, thank you very much. Again, it's been a short period of time that I've been here, but your work, the foundation that you've laid at the Register of Voters, the integrity that you have instilled in that institution and continues to go on today is you know, to your credit. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for your many years of service to the residents of San Diego County.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Desmond. Okay, I'm going to ask if our Chief Administrative Officer would like to say a few words at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael and I have a long history. He actually was one of the very first people I met on my first day here at the County of San Diego. He was the registrar at that time, and I knew nothing about elections. And he did a lot to help educate me about elections, but about the county. If you were giving out the superlative awards, this guy would be Mr. Popularity. There isn't a single person in the County of San Diego that doesn't love Michael Haas. He is affable, he is hilarious, but he's also self-deprecating, and he is a go-to mentor. When you need advice, and you need specifically career advice, he is really what it's about in terms of leadership. He's had a lot of jobs because we've had a lot of need, and whenever we had a really serious problem, we put Michael in charge, and he went in a very friendly, proactive way and corrected that. He has turned some of our biggest folks in the region that were very unhappy with the county into real fans and advocates. For him, I am so eternally grateful for everything that you have done, for your friendship. Dia has just been another wife that has been incredibly supportive. She worked many elections with us. I know she was supposed to this election, but had some knee surgery, so she wasn't able to work this election. But it's been a family affair for all these years, and I greatly appreciate his service, and I will deeply miss you. So thank you very much for everything you've done for us.
Michael, you get the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Helen. I worked on some of these comments for about 2 straight nights because I wanted to get them right and not make a mistake on what would be, you know, the second to last day for an organization that I have just grown to love. So I will make it short so that I can cut down on the attack vector there and the ability to say something inappropriate in a setting like this. Actually, Chairman Cox, I think you were, when I first met you, I think you were a brand new mayor of the city of Chula Vista. I think it was you were the first elected mayor of Chula Vista. And I see your signature on this, this wonderful proclamation. I received my first proclamation from you about 40 years ago, and your signature looks about the same. So good for you. Your mail ballot will probably count this last election. The one thing I wanted to say is I did have a lot of stops, and wow, I was looking at this and I go, I think I forgot that I was at some of these places. It was a wonderful, wonderful adventure through a wonderful, amazing organization that was made amazing by the people that I got to work with. And I got to work directly with literally hundreds of county employees. And I'll tell you, the one thing that I found without fail at every stop was a trait that everyone I met, and I can say this truthfully, had a need. It had a love of public service. They had a need to come to work and push that ball forward, to do good, and to make a positive change. Didn't always occur that day, but the resilience of the people I've met in this organization was amazing. We'd get after it the next day. And when you combine that culture with the type of executive leadership that we've had in this county and the enlightened leadership of the boards that we've had over these almost 3 decades, you have a very special environment. And I got to be in that environment for over 25 years. So I am forever grateful, and I wish you all well, and I will be cheering you from the sidelines from out in District 2. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Michael, and thank you for correcting me because I didn't want to make you any older than you were. So I'm glad you're going to have kind of bookend proclamations signed by me, one from the city and one from the county. We certainly wish you the best in your retirement. This last proclamation is one going to be presented to somebody who is not retiring. It's obviously way, way too young to retire, but is going to be assuming a new job and a new role, not as a part of the County of San Diego family, but as a part of the San Diego County Employees Retirement Association, which is kind of a very close relative to the County of San Diego. This proclamation is going to be honoring Tracy Sandoval, who has faithfully and diligently served the County of San Diego for 22 years, having been essential in keeping this county and its financial operations solvent and thriving. Excuse me. Tracy began her career in the county in 1998 as a senior performance auditor, and in 2000 was promoted to the IT contract manager, where she was responsible for the exceptional management of our county's IT systems and contracts. Excuse me. In 2002, Tracy was promoted to Group Finance Director, where she oversaw the management of the finance and general government group's resources, enabling the county to meet ongoing and future operational and capital needs. Due to her sound financial guidance and keen auditing abilities, Tracy was promoted to Assistant Chief Financial Officer / Auditor and Controller in 2001, a position she excelled at in every stage, leading to her promotion to Chief Financial Officer / General Manager of Finance and General Government Group in 2012. Throughout her tenure as the county's Auditor and Controller and Chief Financial Officer, Tracy was instrumental in helping guide the county's financial portfolio, leading to the gold standard of credit ratings of, and we can never say this enough, although we get criticized when we do it, AAA bond ratings, under which her management, the county, has successfully maintained since 2014. In 2018, Tracy played a pivotal role in ensuring the long-term solvency of the county's retirement fund through the implementation of Tier D. In 2020, Tracy was named Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, a position she has fulfilled with integrity, vision, and optimism. Although parenthetically, I might add, I think she has probably had the shortest tenure in this position since she was appointed to that position in August. So I guess she has a tenure of 3 months in that position, all of which have been recognized as fundamental parts of her unwavering character and dedication. Tracy leaves a legacy of leadership, dedication, excellence, respect, and authenticity that makes all who work with her grateful to have worked alongside her during her county career. On behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors, I want to not only commend Tracy for her distinguished service for the County of San Diego and the people of San Diego County, but also declare this day as Tracy M. Sandoval Day throughout San Diego County. Tracy, we hate to see you leave after such a short tenure as the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, but we really do commend you for the new role you're going to have, which is equally important, particularly as Supervisor Jacob and I get ready to retire in January. We want to make sure that there's good management continued at the San Diego County Employees Retirement Association, which you will be leading starting, I believe, next week, I think. But in any event, we sincerely thank you for your dedicated service to the County of San Diego. And I know that Supervisor Jacob will also like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You got it right. Tracy moving from her current position at the county over to SD Sarah as the Chief Executive Officer is an outstanding move, not just for Tracy and not just for all the members of the retirement system, but all the active members too, as well as retirees and those in between. I've known Tracy ever since she's been at the county, and I can't say enough about her integrity, her honesty, her trustworthiness. She holds tight to those purse strings, I know, because you, Mr. Chairman, and I have had particularly a lot of projects in our districts. And Tracy's always gives us a straight answer as to whether or not the county can afford it or not. And that basic principle of spending one-time money on one-time expenditures and only spending that ongoing revenue on ongoing expenditures. Yes, she is the one that led the charge to help us get out of a financial dark hole and then into the AAA credit rating, which we've enjoyed for years, which has saved us millions and millions of dollars. So Tracy, congratulations on your stellar career at the County of San Diego, and welcome to SD, Sarah. I'll be there for a couple of months yet, and I will have the pleasure of having you come over there. So congratulations.
Thank you, Supervisor. Vice Chair Jim Desmond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Tracy, I just want to say I really enjoyed working with you the last couple of years here at the county. I'm a fellow numbers person. I love to see how the numbers work, and you know, you explain things in an easy to understand way. You had discipline within the budgets and within all of your interactions, and we're very upfront and honest, and I really appreciate that. You've done a fantastic job here at the county, and I know you will do a fantastic job at SD, Sarah. Best of luck to you. You'll be missed here, but I'm glad you're still helping the the residents of San Diego County and continuing in that effort at SD, Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair Desmond. Supervisor Gaspar.
Well, Tracy's incredible, and she is someone that I admire greatly. Her departure is a huge loss for the county. A lot of times when people work with finances, they have a difficult time communicating to people who don't work in finances. That is simply not the case with Tracy. Very attentive to the residents of San Diego County, this board, well respected by employees as well. Dynamic, funny, intelligent, and one of the most professional people that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. Tracy, I'm going to miss you. I know you'll be successful no matter what you do in your career. I wish you the best of luck, and it just has been an honor to have had the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you, Supervisor. And now I'll ask our Chief Administrative Officer if she would like to say a few words.
Wow, this is hard. All three of these are hard. Tracy, let me first give a shout out to Tracy for being an incredible role model for women in the organization, and women that go through pregnancy in their careers, and how people wonder, will they come back to work? Will they be as dedicated? Will they be split? I can tell you this woman is amazing. I tell this story frequently. I remember distinctly the day that she insisted on coming to the meeting. We were talking in information technology conference room, and she was very pregnant, and her water broke during the meeting. And that's just the way she was. It was like, oh, I've got to get this meeting done first. I've got to get this tended to. I will then deal with my son being born in a few hours. So we got through that one. But she has raised two incredible boys and also served the public so well. If in the superlatives, the yearbook superlatives, I would give her the best all around. Everybody loves Tracy. Everybody goes to her for her intellect, for her how do I get this done attitude, for her dedication, for her integrity, and for her friendship. I mean, she is genuine. She is authentic. She is who she is, and you know you can trust her in everything that she does. I was thrilled when she agreed to be the assistant CAO. In full disclosure, she told me that her dream job would be the SD Sarah job that at that time was open, and she had applied for it. She didn't know whether she would get it or not, and I was still willing to take that chance because I think she is the right person for the assistant CAO. I think she's the right person for the CAO job. But for her to get the opportunity to go to SD Sarah, we will still work together very closely as we need to, because retirement is such a big piece of our financial picture here in the County of San Diego, and it's nice to have a trusted partner there. She will serve that role very, very well in the employees over there. But you will be deeply missed. Ebony has big shoes to follow as your CFO, and she is more than capable of doing that because of the partnership that you've had. But I have to tell you, there's a hole in my heart that is going to always be there because we're going to miss you that much. And you have been my friend. You complete my sentences. We think so much alike, but together we've been a pretty mighty, powerful team. And we will continue that friendship and that professional relationship. But I want to personally thank you, and all the employees really want to thank you too. You have done a remarkable job for all of us here at the County of San Diego. So thank you very, very much.
And Tracy, again, you get the last word.
I'll be very brief. Chairman Cox and members of the board, thank you so very much for this recognition. I am truly privileged to serve under your leadership for over my career. You all very much do the best job that you can for the people that you represent, which is not always the easiest job. And so for that, I just want to say thank you very much. Real quickly, I just want to thank all of those that gave me the opportunities over the years to grow my career here. Bill Kelly, Walt Eckert, Don Stoyer, and then of course Helen. I don't think people really can truly appreciate how much Helen has the backs of all those that she leads, and without expectation of gratitude. So I just want to say thank you very, very much for that. And at the end of the day, I just want to say thank you to all my colleagues here at the county. I really, really am excited about serving you in my next role on the other side. And I mean, not death, I mean retirement. So I look forward to serving you in your eventual retirement. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I want to point out that Tracy is a resident of the city of Chula Vista, very proud resident of Chula Vista. And Tracy is, as I mentioned, since Supervisor Jacob and I are going to be retiring fairly soon, our only words of advice to you are, please don't screw it up. We know you're going to do a great job. Thank you very much. Our next proclamation is going to be presented to the Veterans Home of Chula Vista, and to receive that proclamation, we're delighted to have with us Tui Mascaro, who is the administrator for the Chula Vista Veterans Home, and I believe she's online. We do have this proclamation, which reads as follows. The Veterans Home of Chula Vista in San Diego County has been recognized as one of America's best nursing homes in 2021 by Newsweek magazine. America's Best Nursing Homes 2021 highlights the nation's top nursing homes based on performance data, peer recommendations, and the facility's handling of the COVID-19 threat. Seniors have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19, as well as veterans who are vulnerable members of the San Diego County community. And Veterans Home of California Chula Vista staff have enhanced the quality of life of the senior veterans who reside at that home. The Veterans Home of California Chula Vista is a 305-bed long-term care facility providing options for domiciliary, independent living, licensed residential, and skilled nursing care, where physicians provide medical care in both the licensed outpatient clinic and inpatient skilled nursing settings. In addition to in-home services, acute care is provided at either the La Jolla U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Medical Center or the nearby Sharp Chula Vista Hospital. And services are also provided by the Veterans Home of California Chula Vista, which have all positively impacted San Diego County's senior veteran population. County of San Diego is committed to recognizing and honoring those organizations that are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and certainly Veterans Home of California Chula Vista is one such worthy organization. So on behalf of all of my colleagues on the Board of Supervisors, We want to take an opportunity to commend the Veterans Home of California, Chula Vista, for its outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to the veterans of San Diego County, and do hereby declare this day to be Veterans Home of California, Chula Vista Day throughout San Diego County. Just on a personal note, when I was mayor of Chula Vista, we worked very hard with the California Department of Veterans Home to get the Chula Vista Veterans Home located in Chula Vista. And it wasn't done while I was mayor, but when I was up in Sacramento as a director of local government, I worked with the director of Veterans Homes, who happened to be a San Diego resident and a Purple Heart recipient, Jay Vargas. And we're able to work with the city of Chula Vista to get them to provide the land that the Veterans Home is on, and actually at no cost to the state of California. It's a beautiful facility, and Twee has done an outstanding job over these last few years as the administrator. So Twee, we want to give you an opportunity to say a few words on behalf of the Veterans Home of California, Chula Vista.
Thank you so much, Chairman Cox. Hopefully there's not too much of an echo here, but I wanted to say what an honor it is to be recognized. Thank you so much for your continuous support in the last 2 decades with the Veterans Home. The Chula Vista Veterans Home Support Foundation has been phenomenal, as well as all the dignitaries and the community leaders. We would not have survived this and continue to without the support of everybody involved. It's really great to let you all know that we do not have any of our residents impacted by COVID. Of course, their livelihood is not as fun and exciting as it was before COVID, but they are all safe. Kudos out to all of my staff. They have been phenomenal through all of this. We have all made sacrifices, but it's well worth it. So thank you so much for this recognition. My staff are very, very happy and they're proud, and my veterans are in great spirit. You're awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate this.
Well, thank you, Twee. We have this proclamation. We will get it to you at your next meeting of the Veterans Home Support Foundation. And we sincerely thank you for your dedicated work on behalf of our veterans in San Diego County. Might also just parenthetically add that the #1 hospital as far as nursing home care that's provided across the United States is our own Edgemore Hospital, skilled nursing facility. So we're very proud of Edgemore Hospital and the work that they've done. And we are equally proud of the Veterans Home of California, Chula Vista, for the great work that they've been doing for our veteran population. We'll move on to the next proclamation, which is going to be presented by our Vice Chairman, Jim Desmond. And this is honoring Disabled American Veterans Centennial Anniversary. Accepting the proclamation will be Vice Commander John Gonzalez and Junior Vice Commander Juan Furley. Excuse me.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I have Vice Commander Juan Furler. Hopefully we got this right. But today, I'm very pleased to honor the disabled American veterans and to celebrate their centennial year, 100 years of service and support for America's injured and ill veterans and their families. The Disabled American Veterans was founded in 1920 and provided a lifetime of support for many generations of soldiers and veterans and their families and survivors, helping more than 1 million individuals in positive, life-changing ways each year. The Disabled American Veterans Chapter empowers our local veterans to lead high-quality lives by providing benefits, counseling, transition support, volunteer programs, and employment assistance to veterans. Honoring disabled veterans for a century of service to our nation's veterans and their families that serve alongside them is a significant achievement for any organization, and we can all take pride in that. The County of San Diego is committed to recognizing and honoring organizations that are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, and the Disabled American Veterans is one such worthy organization. So now, Chairman Greg Cox and all the members of the San Diego Board of Supervisors do commend Disabled American Veterans for their commitment to veterans and do hereby declare this to be Disabled American Veterans Day throughout San Diego County. So I appreciate we have a nice plaque and proclamation we will get to you. Vice Commander Gonzalez, did you have a couple of words you wanted to say? Is he online?
Yes, he is, and he can proceed now.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Desmond, and to the Board of Supervisors. On behalf of the Thomas F. Durbin Chapter 70 of the Disabled American Veterans here in Escondido, California, and our national DAV organization, I am honored to accept this proclamation, which recognizes the valuable contributions the disabled American veterans have made to our neighborhoods throughout the country. For the past 100 years, the Disabled American Veterans has been proud to support not only the veterans of America, the brave men and women who have been willing to serve our great country, but also their family and the country as a whole. Some of us who served long ago remember the feeling we had when we returned from the war. There was a time when we were shunned, ridiculed, and disrespected. Unfortunately, that time, the love and the pride that we have for this country did not feel shared for us as veterans. I am proud to say that this proclamation and the recognition that it provides reinforces the notion that today and every day going forward, our community support us as much as we love to support our communities. Thank you very much again.
Well, thank you very much, Vice Commander Gonzalez. Thank you for your service as a veteran and also for your continued service here on the Disabled American Veterans post. Thank you.
And congratulations on your 100th anniversary. This next proclamation will also be presented by Vice Chairman Jim Desmond. It's honoring the San Diego Pancreatic Cancer Action Network and Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month. And to accept the proclamation will be Stu Rickerson, who's the Major Gift Chair for the San Diego Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Supervisor?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate again, this honor to honor the San Diego Pancreatic Cancer Action Network and to raise awareness for Pancreatic Cancer Month. This year, more than 56,000 Americans will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. That's more than 155 mothers, daughters, fathers, sons, husbands, wives, sisters, brothers. My brother has pancreatic cancer. He's had it for 3 years. Colleagues and friends are all going to hear the dreaded news every single day. 155 people are informed they have pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer takes about 91% of its victims within 5 years and kills more people than breast cancer here in the United States. Pancreatic Cancer Network, PanCan, was formed in 1999 as a 3-person nonprofit dedicated to fighting the toughest cancer out there, and is now a nationwide organization focused on providing services to pancreatic cancer patients, raising funds for research, and offering support to the pancreatic cancer community. Today, we're helping to raise critically needed awareness and support, and the support necessary for making progress for pancreatic cancer patients. The County of San Diego is committed to recognizing and honoring those organizations who are dedicated to the best ideals of public service. The San Diego Pancreatic Cancer Network is one such worthy organization. So today, Chairman Greg Cox and all the members of the San Diego Board of Supervisors commend the San Diego Pancreatic Cancer Action Network for their commitment to our residents, and do hereby declare this month of November to be Pancreatic Awareness Month throughout San Diego County. We've got a proclamation that we will get to you. Mr. Rickerson, if you are online, if you'd like to say a few words, we'd appreciate your comments.
Thank you very much. And I would. I'd like to thank first the chair and also Vice Chair Desmond for this great honor, and really the entire Board of Supervisors on behalf of the thousands of residents of San Diego County who are impacted by this disease. This month is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, and Thursday, November 19th, is World Pancreatic Cancer Day. If you could see me, you would see that I'm wearing purple, and I urge you and your staffs to wear purple in honor of the many people in San Diego and elsewhere around the country who have suffered from this disease. Pancreatic cancer is relentless, and it does not lock down in a pandemic. You've already heard that it takes 57,000 people a year and is currently the third leading cause of cancer deaths in America. What you haven't heard is that it's an equal opportunity destroyer of families. It affects women and men approximately equally and cuts across all races and ethnicities. According to the American Cancer Society, 1 in 13 people in America will get pancreatic cancer before they die. This year alone, many prominent people in the news have been diagnosed and sadly died from this disease. Representative John Lewis, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Jeopardy host Alec Trebek, and 2 heroes from my youth, Hall of Fame pitcher Bob Gibson from the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. But there is hope out there. There's hope out there because of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, which is the leading organization of its kind in the world. If you or a friend or colleague ever has an issue with this, go to our site, www.pancam.org. It will provide straight information, but will also provide you with hope. And we've just completed our Purple Stride San Diego. If you're in a position to help out in any way, big or small, please go on the website and do that, because we're funding research. Since I was diagnosed in 2005, because of PanCam, survival rates have doubled as of 2020. By 2030, our goal is to double survival rates again, and we will do that with your support. So thank you for the honor. Thank you for the time. And of course, I'm available to take any questions any of the supervisors may have.
Well, I want to say thank you very much, Mr. Rickerson, and for your comments and your support of this great effort in the fight against pancreatic cancer. Thank you very much, and we'll get this proclamation to you.
Thank you.
Again, congratulations, Stu, and thank you for all the great work that you're doing. The next proclamation is going to be presented by Supervisor Nathan Fletcher. This is honoring the San Diego Youth Homeless Consortium. Supervisor.
Thank you, Chairman Cox. November is Runaway and Homeless Youth Prevention Month. This is a statewide awareness campaign that happens every year thanks to the California Coalition for Youth and its partners to help and support youth and young adults experiencing homelessness in our state. Today, in honor of Runaway and Homeless Youth Prevention Month, I want to recognize the San Diego Youth Homeless Consortium. The San Diego Youth Homeless Consortium is a collaborative entity designed to increase the effectiveness of service delivery systems in San Diego County for youth experiencing or at risk of experiencing homelessness. Led by our youth voices, the group uses evidence-based approaches to leverage resources to educate the greater community about the unique dynamic of youth experiencing homelessness in order to help create and maintain a youth-focused, coordinating continuum of services. Issues facing youth and young adults are compounded by adverse childhood experiences, trauma, poverty, chronic stress, and disconnection. San Diego Youth Homeless Consortium is committed to uplifting young people's experience and maintaining a continuum of evidence-based informed solutions that meet their unique needs. 40 community-based organizations comprise this group. This important network infuses integrity, respect, innovation, inclusion, and collaboration into all that they do. Their vision is that youth homeless will decrease in San Diego County, and any housing instability faced by young people will be brief and non-recurring. Through a month-long social media campaign and a variety of activities being hosted by their member organizations, they aim to highlight the resiliency of this group of young people and examine the unique needs and potential solutions to end experiences of housing instability. The SDYHC also seeks to reduce barriers and build access for underserved youth populations, such as the LGBTQ youth and youth of color, to resources that will increase equity and decrease racial and ethnic disparities that affect these communities. On behalf of the chair of the board and the entire county supervisors, I want to commend the San Diego Youth Homeless Consortium for their outstanding service, leadership, and commitment to end youth homelessness throughout our county, and declare the 17th day of November 2020 to be San Diego Youth Homelessness Consortium Day throughout San Diego County. Joining us today to receive this proclamation is the co-lead of the consortium, David Barker. David, I want to thank you for being here and accepting this honor and all that you and your organization and group do. And I'd like to turn it over to David to say a few words.
Thank you, Supervisor Fletcher. I am honored to be here and share our mutual respect, and of course honored to be working with a board of supervisors that is so informed and willing to get involved in our fight to end youth homelessness here in San Diego County. In the height of the pandemic, you all have approved significant investments in our youth that will serve to alter and improve their lives in real ways. You've quite literally provided youth with a safe place to grow as part of the Housing Our Youth program introduced by the amazing Supervisor Cox. These bold and innovative actions reflect how well you all are listening to the community, and I hope you recognize that the steps you all are taking to address youth homelessness today are actually preventing chronic adult homelessness of tomorrow. Our consortium includes over 40 youth-serving organizations from across the county, and we've come to the conclusion that, you know, the solution to youth homelessness is more than providing housing to young people who are down on their luck. These young people need wraparound support and access to tools that will increase their economic mobility. You know, they need a coach to help them develop vital skills that will lead to their continued success. Our youth need an ecosystem of care and support that will effectively interrupt cycles of intergenerational poverty. These are the basic needs that you all are helping to make a reality for youth in our county. Your awareness and poise to make a change in the community is greatly appreciated and definitely recognized. There's a lot of work to be done, but we are so honored to be doing this work with you, and thank you all so much for your efforts and dedication to improve the lives of our vulnerable children, youth, and families here in San Diego County. So thank you so much.
Thank you, David. And again, we sincerely appreciate everything you're doing to combat youth homelessness. Our last proclamation this morning is going to be presented by our vice chair, by Supervisor Diane Jacob. And this is honoring Beth Seiss. Supervisor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are individuals in our community that work quietly day in and day out, but yet they have had a huge impact, not just on our community, but throughout the country. And Beth Seiss, I'm very, very honored and have the privilege of recognizing her today. Let me tell everybody a little bit about Beth. She received her nursing education at the University of Rochester in New York and joined the University of California, San Diego neonatal ICU nursing staff in 1976, a unit recognized as one of the best in the nation. Beth then took care of many of the most critically ill premature infants in our region. And in 1982, she completed her pediatric nurse practitioner training at UCSD and worked in their adolescent clinic. In 1985, Beth completed her Master of Science in Nursing at the University of San Diego School of Nursing and became an instructor at the nursing school. She continued her education in the early 90s, receiving none other than a law degree from USD School of Law. And after passing the bar on her first try, she became a prosecutor at the San Diego City Attorney's Office. Well, she then combined her law and healthcare interests in 1995 by becoming the Injury Prevention and Community Outreach Director at Mercy Hospital's Trauma Center. In that role, she led the development of both Mercy Trauma's residency training program in partnership with the Naval Medical Center San Diego and Mercy Trauma's clinical research program. Her efforts were a major contribution in Mercy's successful designation as a Level 1 trauma center in San Diego County. Beth Seiss's 7 Commandments of a Successful Trauma Center Injury Prevention Program and her publication on how to choose injury prevention targets and measure results is the guide for all trauma centers must follow to be verified, and is now shared with all trauma centers in the entire United States. She is also an active member and source of innovation, numerous community collaborations in which she has chaired or has been an executive committee member, including the San Diego County Alcohol Policy Panel, the Methamphetamine Strike Force, the Community Health Improvement Partners Suicide Prevention Council, the San Diego Fall Prevention Task Force, and San Diego County Prescription Drug Task Force. Beth Seiss and her husband of 45 years, Dr. Michael Seiss, look forward to spending more time in Montana with son Bob, his wife Maya, and their 2 daughters. Beth also looks forward to keeping in touch with her many friends in the community. So at this time, Mr. Chairman, since the County of San Diego is committed to recognizing and honoring those individuals who are dedicated to the best ideals of public service, Beth Seiss is certainly one such worthy individual. It's my distinct honor now to proclaim this proclamation on behalf of you, Mr. Chairman, and the entire Board of Supervisors on the 17th day of November 2020. And we do hereby officially commend Beth Seiss for 45 years of wisdom, contributions, and leadership in the efforts to make this San Diego region a safer and healthier place, and even throughout the nation. And we do hereby declare this day to be Beth Seiss Day throughout San Diego County. I believe that Beth is on the line, and Beth, would you like to say a few words at this time?
My sincere thanks to the Board of Supervisors, and a special thank you to you, Supervisor Diane Jacob, who has consistently supported our efforts in public health in San Diego County. It's been my privilege to work with so many wonderful community members who also share a desire to make our county a safer, healthier place to live. We've faced many challenges throughout the years. Of course, methamphetamine, increasing youth access to alcohol, the growing tragedy of suicide, and many dangers to our elderly, chiefly falls. Each time, public-private partnerships have formed quickly to identify solutions and implement the hard work to effectively address these many challenges. The board has always been a source of strength and wisdom in these efforts, and I've been fortunate to be able to add my perspective as a nurse attorney in some small way to the work of many of the friends and colleagues we have in our community. I know that we have much more work to do, but the future is in good hands. Thank you all for the honor of joining you in these many important efforts.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you, Beth, and congratulations. We wish you the best for the future. It's my understanding that we have no non-agenda public comments, but let me just confirm that with the clerk of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do not have any non-agenda public comments this morning. All the e-comments that were submitted under non-agenda public communication were related to items on today's agenda. So those comments have been distributed to the board and will be filed with the appropriate agenda items. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on now to the approval of the statement of proceedings and the minutes for the meeting of October 27th, 2020. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Okay, I think I heard a motion by Supervisor Gaspar, seconded by Supervisor Jacob. Any comments? Hearing none, we do have a motion for approval by Supervisor Gaspar, seconded by Supervisor Jacob. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Aye.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on now to the formation of the consent calendar. All items on the agenda will be considered a part of the consent calendar unless there's a desire on the part of the public or members of the board to pull items for further discussion. Let me start off by asking the clerk if there's items that have been pulled by the public.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 1 is a time certain item that will be heard at 5 p.m. this evening. Item 8 has been pulled by the public. Item 11 has been pulled by the public. Item 13 has been pulled by the public. Item 14 has been pulled by the public. Item 20 has been pulled by the public. And item 34 has been pulled by the public. And item 40 are closed session matters that will be considered at the conclusion of the board's public session. All the remaining items on the Board of Supervisors agenda may be placed in the consent calendar for your board's consideration.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Let me move on now to my colleagues, starting with Supervisor Jacob. Do you have any items to pull or additional comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No items to pull. I have comments on 2 items. First, on item number 19 was the sheriff entertainment license fees. Brought this before the board again to try to help our business community. This COVID-19 health crisis has had an enormous impact on our communities and certainly on our small businesses. And some of those businesses require certain entertainment licenses from the sheriff's department, such as bars, restaurants, and carnivals. And they've not been able to hold events since the state health order went into effect in March of this year. Therefore, in an effort to assist these businesses, today's action will adopt a resolution to waive sheriff's license fees associated with entertainment during the local health emergencies. These businesses are hurting right now, so this is just another small gesture that would give them one less financial worry while they struggle to survive. Item number 20, I believe has been pulled. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. With that, I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor. We'll move on now to Supervisor Gaspar. Do you have any items to pull or additional comments?
Chairman, I don't have additional items to pull or comments to make. I'll second the motion.
Very good. We'll move on now to Supervisor Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any items to pull. I do have a few comments to make on item number 5. I'm pleased to support item number 5, which gives authorization to competitively procure $7.5 million in contracts for community assessment teams, otherwise referred to as CAT teams. Juvenile justice crime is an all low in San Diego County. It is prevention programs like these that not only help youth stay on track, but intervene and provide support services to youth and their families to address risk factors which often cause delinquency. As we heard with youth homelessness, if you can avert it at youth, you do avert the potential for increases in adult homeless. The same is certainly true of juvenile crime. The CAT teams serve youth ages 6 to 18 countywide who exhibit at-risk behavior such as truancy, substance abuse, negative home dynamics. They can be referred by families, schools, faith-based organizations, or caring adults to connect to services. Youth with law enforcement contact can also be referred by the sheriff and police departments for diversion services to safely and effectively reduce the number of youth on probation. Case management services available to youth include counseling, skill building, behavioral interventions, academic assistance, substance abuse, and community service hours. Even though the CAT program was created in the late 1990s, it continues to show strong positive outcomes for youth in the program today. In most recent year of results, which comprised over 2,500 youth, 99% did not have a new probation referral. I want to take this opportunity to give my appreciation of the county juvenile services team. I was recently out touring the construction of the new facility in Kearney Mesa. It is coming along schedule and is a huge feat under the current circumstances. The layout and program components are innovative and will be a tremendous asset to help youth that do find themselves going in the wrong direction with a supportive, enriching environment to improve their life and work skills and truly rehabilitate their lives. I'm excited for it to be completed and for our young people, and I'm pleased to see item 5 move forward. Item 27, again, I'm pleased to see the adoption of our language access board policy. Very supportive of item 27. Since taking office nearly 2 years ago, I've heard again and again concerns from the community that information and resources must be adequately accessible for those who do not speak English as their primary language. The COVID-19 pandemic underscores the urgency of why greater accessibility to information and resources is critical for all San Diegans. That's why in August, I brought forward the budget change letter during budget deliberations to allocate funds to support translation services and to make it clear that language accessibility should be factored into the cost of doing business enterprise-wise in the future. I appreciate the support of my colleagues to move forward with this item, and I'm pleased to see the creation of Board Policy A139, which makes clear that providing language access is a top priority for the county. I believe the adoption of this board policy is an important step, and I look forward to regular updates on its implementation as we move forward into the future. And then finally, on item 31, I'm pleased to see the Leon Williams Human Relations Commission continue to move forward with the creation of the commission's bylaws and duties and responsibility. In May of this year, we took a step as an office to reestablish the Human Relations Commission. We chose to name it after the Honorable Leon Williams to promote positive human relations, respect, the integrity of every individual, regardless of their gender, religion, culture, ethnicity, sexual orientation, age, or immigration status. That is exactly what the commission has proposed in their bylaws, with the commitment to engage the community in an intentional and thoughtful way. I want to commend the commitment of our commissioners, especially as we work to get the Office of Equity and Racial Justice up and running. Together and at all levels within this county, we will be able to tackle issues of racism, discrimination, and address societal inequities that have divided San Diego County for far too long. This is an important element as we continue to build trust and create a more welcoming environment in our region and in our county. I look forward to seeing what the commission will do in the future, and in particular heading into next year. And I'm pleased to see the recommendations put forward today. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fletcher. I'll move on now to our Vice Chairman, Jim Desmond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. I just have a couple of comments I want to make. First of all, on item number 10. This is the Vista Crisis Stabilization Unit authorization between the City of Vista and the county. 2 years ago, North County was facing a behavioral health crisis with the suspension of the Tri-City Hospital's Behavioral Health Unit, which had psychiatric beds and a crisis stabilization unit. Law enforcement was having to transfer people in crisis from North County all the way down to the facility in Rosecrans in San Diego, taking several hours out of the day of our deputies who are on duty. Now we are well underway into solving this crisis with a comprehensive behavioral health plan that our Health and Human Services team have put together that includes establishing crisis stabilization units throughout the county. These behavioral health urgent cares are needed now more than ever with the COVID and homelessness and all these other issues we are dealing with in our region. In North County, we're establishing a CSU, this one before us in Vista. Another one is online to come into the Live Well Center in Oceanside. And Tri-City is going to be opening up and hopefully get under construction soon, more psychiatric beds. And the Palomar site in Escondido is also improving their crisis stabilization capabilities there, and psychiatric beds as well. This crisis stabilization unit will help address the critical needs in our community. They will be a place where law enforcement can deliver people in need of stabilization, and more in particular, a place where families, I've had many families contact me with a troubled youth or troubled child and say, where do they go? Where do they take them? This is going to be a place where families can bring a loved one who's struggling or in a crisis. Just this past weekend, one of the CAL FIRE battalion chiefs driving in North County on the I-15 noticed a female on the ledge of an overpass. They radioed ahead to Engine 12, which was returning from a call, and the firefighters were able to get the female off the bridge and walk her to a safe location. She stated many times that she wanted to die and she was very sad, but proud of the firefighters that helped her. And I can't help but wonder if this female had 24-hour access to behavioral health services through these crisis stabilization units, would she have gotten the help that she needed before things got out of hand? So developing this region-wide network of crisis stabilization units is worth the investment. And while the journey to get here, the first crisis stabilization unit opened in the county and to provide more it provided more challenges than anticipated. But once this first one is open, I think other communities are going to realize the benefit these crisis stabilization units have. I want to thank Sheriff Gore, DA Summer Steffen, the city manager and the Vista City Council for collaborating and getting this Vista project hopefully approved. It has another hurdle at the city. But additionally, I want to thank Helen and the whole HHS team, especially Dr. Luke Bergman, Cecily Thornton Stearns, Rachel Solov, and the DA staff for helping all in this effort and getting this work done. Also on that same note, on item 23, this is the approval and lease of an amendment for the District Attorney's Family Justice Center in San Marcos. This Family Justice Center is known as One Safe Place, where thousands of crime victims will be served annually. With the additional 20,000 feet before us today to be added, more victim services can be housed at this one-stop victims service shop. I'm very proud of the support and the vision of our District Attorney, Summer Steffen, for One Safe Place here in North County. I look forward to the grand opening and the services being provided actually county-wide with the locations in San Diego, in North County. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Desmond. And I have no additional items to pull or comments to make. With that, I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and identify those items that we'll be voting on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The consent calendar this morning includes all items except the following items that have been pulled for discussion. And that is item 1, again, which is a time certain item that will be heard at 5 p.m. this evening. Items 8, 11, 13, 14, 20, and 34.
Very good. And we do have a motion by Supervisor Jacobs, seconded by Supervisor Gaspar. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar?
Aye.
Supervisor Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
Aye, but I have a question. Initially, you had said item 34 was also pulled, Andrew. Is that in the second time you read them, it wasn't in there?
That's correct. It has been pulled. Yep.
Okay, so 34 has been pulled. All right, thank you. I'm an aye. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chairman, that motion passes unanimously with all board members being present and voting aye.
Thank you very much, Andrew. So we'll move on now to the first item on the agenda that has been pulled, which will be item 8. I think this morning we'll just go straight on down the order of items on the agenda. This first item is the report on the COVID-19 response. It's an update. We're to ratify action and authorize any other actions necessary to address the COVID-19 pandemic. We do have a staff presentation, and we have 37 speakers that have been requested to speak on this item. So we'll go ahead and start off with the staff presentation. And that's going to be given by Chuck Matthews, who is our incident commander.
Thank you. Before we begin the staff presentation, excuse me, any members of the public that have requested to speak on this item, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions provided to you. You will be muted until it is your turn to speak. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. Since our last presentation to the board, we've transitioned to a more restrictive tier on California's blueprint for a safe reopening, resulting in a scaling back of operations for both essential and non-essential businesses. Today's presentation will feature our Public Health Officer, Dr. Wilma Wooten, who will provide a public health update as well as additional information regarding the county's status on the state's tiered system. We'll also be joined by Nick Mascione, our agency director, for an update on the testing efforts underway throughout the county. Additionally, Vince Nicoletti will provide an update on compliance efforts throughout the county. And then finally, we'll be joined by Andy Pease, our Incident Command Finance Chief, who will provide an update on spending estimates. Without further ado, I'll welcome Dr. Wilma Wooten.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Good morning, Chairman Cox and members of the board. The epi curve on this slide shows COVID-19 cases by onset of illness. On Sunday, San Diego County surpassed a sobering threshold of over almost 1,100 cases in one day, with no signs of the virus slowing down. This slide provides a review of the history of cases by illness onset to date. Starting in the middle of June until the middle of July, we saw a sharp increase in cases. On August 31st, the blueprint for a safer economy was launched by the state, following a range of cases from 200 to 400 cases per day for 2 months. At the end of October, the epi curve shows another sharp increase in COVID-19 cases, indicating the beginning of a second wave. In the past 2 weeks, which is also the 14-day incubation period for the epi curve, cases have mostly ranged from 500 to 600 cases daily, with more recently cases ranging from 7 to approximately 1,100 cases. Given the last 2 weeks, the 2-week period, which is the incubation period, we know that even more cases will occur in that latter 2-week period. As a result of the increasing number of cases contributing to our elevated case counts, on Tuesday, November 10th, San Diego County transitioned to the purple tier. In the next slide, since our last presentation to your board on October 27th, an additional 10,660 cases have been reported, for a total of 65,601 positive confirmed COVID-19 cases. These numbers are as of 10:59, Sunday, November 15th. This table provides a summary of these cases with a breakdown by age, gender, hospitalizations, ICU admissions, and deaths. The new range for cases is now from 0 to 107 years of age. The 20 to 49-year-old age group remains at 58% of all cases, which is 37,837 of the total number. Gender remains unchanged since our last report. Approximately 51% are female and about 48 to 49% are male. 4,212 or 6.4% of cases have been hospitalized, and of this number, 960 have been admitted to the ICU. The total number of cases also includes 926 deaths, or 1.4% of all cases. You can find all information, all data related to COVID-19 on our website at www.coronavirus-sd.com. Now, on the next slide, we just want to state that yesterday, because of the statewide surge, the overall statewide surge in COVID-19 cases, the state released the tier assignments early by 1 day. From November 1st through the 7th, we have seen a 51.3% increase throughout the entire state of California in the number of COVID-19 cases. As seen on this slide, almost the entire state has seen an increase in cases, and most counties have moved back a tier. 41 counties are now in purple, 11 in red, and 4 in orange, and 2 in yellow. This second wave has caused the state to implement an emergency brake on the tier process, which means that all counties must stay in their current tier for at least 3 to 4 weeks, and any county movement to a more restrictive tier will likely occur immediately. San Diego County continues to be in the purple tier as of November 10th, which requires gyms, restaurants, churches, movie theaters, zoos, museums, and bars that serve food to shift from indoor to outdoor-only operations. The adjusted case rate for November 4th through November 10th, after a 4-day lag, is 10.7, which is purple tier. And the testing positivity is 4.3%, which is the orange tier. Because of its emergency break status, the state did not calculate the health equity metric, since all counties will not be allowed to move forward to a less restrictive tier for at least 3 to 4 weeks. However, since health equity continues to be an important driver in our response, and we continue to monitor this metric, staff has calculated this metric to be 7.2%. Moving to the next slide. This next slide shows the gravity of the situation with a clear and sharp increase in the county's case rate over the 3-week period from October 18th to November 10th. After entering the red tier, the county enjoyed a consistent adjusted case rate between 6.5 and 7 for 6 weeks. In the past 3 weeks, the adjusted case rate has shown a steady increase ranging from 7.4 to 10.7, placing the county in the purple tier. All age groups and sectors are now seeing an increase in cases with no single driver responsible for the surge in our cases. And this is occurring throughout the state, not just San Diego. The bottom line is the daily average of cases is rising at an astonishing rate, and it is important that we all collectively act quickly to change behavior. We will continue to work with the state and closely monitor our status in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Moving to the next slide. Weekly, we focus on the case rate and testing positivity for the entire county. I announced today that last Thursday, the county launched a dashboard that shows case rates and testing positivity by municipality and zip code. This dashboard also shows the county cities stratified by the state's tier framework. As you can glean from this slide, it is clear that the spread of COVID-19 is countywide, and we are in an urgent state as a region. Now, case rate and testing positivity are more immediate and upstream measures. Our hospital census, which is a downstream and delayed effect, is also rising. We know that there is a lag between cases and our hospital capacity, and we can expect to see further hospitalizations in the upcoming weeks as a result of the recent rise in cases. The good news is the county has prepared and is well equipped for this moment. Our personal protective equipment inventory is solid and continues to provide support to our healthcare partners. In addition, we have a federal medical station surge capacity of 202 beds at Palomar Hospital. For COVID-19 confirmed hospitalized patients from November 9th to November 15th, there was a 12% increase in the 7-day average daily number of cases compared to the prior 7 days. As stated, since November 10th, San Diego is now in the tier 1 or the purple tier. This moves many businesses' indoor activities to outdoors. This new normal will be with us for at least the next 3 to 4 weeks or even longer. During this time, businesses should have their employees telework where possible. For those essential businesses, it is vital that employees are encouraged to follow safe sanitation practices and to stay at home if they are sick. In addition, all schools that are already open, that were already open on Monday, November 9th, can remain open and adhere to small class sizes. Those that were not open at this time must remain closed. Institutions of higher education must not conduct indoor in-person classes, but can conduct classes outdoors under a tent with 3 sides open. If this is not possible, they must conduct distance learning except for essential classes. As we continue to monitor the state metrics and our triggers dashboard, It is important to remember that these preventive strategies listed on this slide, maintaining good hand hygiene and sanitation practices, keeping 6 feet apart from others, wearing a face covering, avoiding crowds, large groups and parties, and staying home if you're sick are critically important in determining the course of the COVID-19 pandemic in San Diego County, the state, and the nation. These strategies are evidence-based best practices that prevent the spread of COVID-19 and directly impact testing positivity and case rates. In alignment with the CDC and the state, please wash your hands, watch your distance, and wear your mask. Again, these actions are factors that will continue to help all San Diegans be COVID safe. In addition to taking these actions, we are also asking everyone to stay at home if you're sick and get tested. Local residents, their families, their neighbors, and their coworkers' lives and livelihoods depend on everyone's actions to keep the entire county safe. In closing, with recent announcements of 2 pending COVID-19 vaccines coming available, this is light at the end of the tunnel. I am encouraged that our way forward through this pandemic will be seen with vaccinations to achieve herd immunity. This will be our next challenge to ensure that everyone gets vaccinated. Through a health equity lens, from the beginning of this pandemic, our strategic approach has centered around prevention, testing, contact tracing, and isolation while awaiting the availability of COVID-19 vaccines. Under prevention, San Diego was one of the first counties to declare a local health emergency and local emergency. We were also one of the first counties to mandate face coverings. We have prepped our healthcare providers by distributing over almost 21 million items of personal protective equipment. We have aligned and partnered with the state on the COVID monitoring list and the blueprint for a safer economy. You will hear about testing, tracing, and treatment in isolation from our agency director in his discussion of the T3 strategy. Lastly, under vaccination, guided by CDC and the state, San Diego has a plan for safe, equitable, and transparent distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. Through expert committees on safety and distribution and engaged community partners, the county is leveraging our broad influenza vaccination experience in preparing for distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines. We are first encouraging everyone to get vaccinated for influenza to prevent unnecessary hospitalizations and the impact to our local healthcare system at the same time as COVID-19 cases are increasing. The experience gleaned from our robust influenza vaccination experience will also pave the way for the success of COVID-19 vaccination efforts. From the start of this pandemic, data and science have guided our county's response to COVID-19. This strategic approach will continue to be true when it comes to vaccination activities. With the news from Pfizer last Monday and Moderna yesterday, we can see light at the end of the tunnel. We will return to your board in December with more updates on COVID-19 vaccination efforts. Now please welcome Agency Director Nick Mescione.
Thank you, Dr. Wooten. Since our last update to your board, we have increased access to free testing for San Diegans throughout the entire county. We're maintaining a high number of free test sites in communities with the greatest need, and we have even begun testing as young as 6 months of age. Additionally, we have ensured most of our testing locations are available with no appointment. They could just walk in. Most recently, we opened 3 additional no-appointment sites: Lemon Grove Community Center, the Imperial Beach Sports Park Rec Center, and the Linda Rhodes Rec Center in Vista. And we continue to look for additional sites and ways to increase capacity throughout our region with the focus on improving health equity. Now, equally important to ensuring that we have testing sites is ensuring the public's aware of these free testing sites and encourage them to get tested as appropriate. If you have symptoms, get tested. If you've been in close contact with someone, get tested. If you're not sure, get tested. Testing is available. The key component is, Dr. Wooten talked about, our Be COVID Safe campaign. Early detection through testing makes it possible for anyone infected to isolate safely, and it keeps them from spreading the virus to others, which is extremely important. Our expanded messaging strategy includes outreach via emails and text messages with our partner in 211 San Diego to notify individuals of nearby testing sites. We're using Nextdoor and targeted social media and on and on. These testing messaging efforts have emphasized reaching people who live in areas that are most adversely impacted by COVID-19. And that is throughout parts of our entire county, not just South Bay. And as you know, last Wednesday was Veterans Day, and we used this opportunity to run a special campaign to encourage our veterans and their families to get tested. And we appreciated the collaboration with the San Diego Veterans Coalition. Additionally, a key element of our T3 strategy implementation is working collaboratively with our community partners, grassroots organizations in the communities, and our service contractors, all helping to get the word out, outreach and education, building trust with the community. Our community outreach partners have begun getting the messaging out on the importance of testing, for example, and they do the same for contact tracing and the resources available that your board has made available for those in need, such as our public health rooms, things where helping people to safely isolate. This is accomplished by a number of methods, such as our community presentations, social media, radio ads, flyers, and billboards, as the one you see here. All of these messaging are helping our contractors, and they're developing it in a tailored way to meet the cultural demographics, such as our Latino or our Asian Pacific Islander communities or our refugee communities. For example, this billboard was created by the Multicultural Health Foundation as part of its campaign focused on reaching out to African American community. As the community health outreach workers interact with their community, they share vital COVID-19 information. And collectively, they have connected more than now approaching 4,000 individuals directly to testing locations just in the past week. We also continue to leverage our many public-private partnerships through our Live Well education and outreach sectors and their networks, and messaging in this fashion creates a force multiplier for a collective impact. And we could see that we're making an impact. Since the inception of T3, in really late April, our 7-day average of tests has grown from nearly 1,300 to now approaching 15,000. This hasn't been an easy road. And during the summer, we experienced a dip after reaching a high of nearly 10,000 tests in mid-July due to a nationwide supply chain issue. We continue to assess, adapt, and innovate to ensure broad access of our free COVID testing continues in our region during this pandemic. In addition to test, we've been holding strong in all of our T's with the surge of our cases. Our metrics for case investigations in close contacts through our tracing component are holding well above our 90% goal that the county's established, the 70% threshold required by the state. We continue to provide services and resources for those in our public health rooms with our public health nurses and our partners, and taking care of the most vulnerable at the convention center with our partners for the homeless. A large supply of our rooms remain available so we can quickly respond to those in need of a safe place to quarantine or self-isolate. So we have still much more work to do, but we're providing the protection for San Diego through the T3 strategy and all of our incident command of the county's COVID response. Now I'd like to turn it over to Vince Nicoletti, who's leading our efforts to engage and educate our business partners on code compliance. Vince?
Pursuant to California Health and Safety Code, all government entities in the county are required to take the necessary measures to ensure compliance with the public health order. In response, the county established the Safe Reopening Compliance Team. While our goal is voluntary compliance, including education and engagement, escalated enforcement has also been part of the process.
Starting on August 4th, we established the Healthy Compliance Call Center and email to take in complaints from the public. The call center is staffed 24/7 and complaints are anonymous. We focus training team members on approach with the intent of helping businesses or entities navigate the health order. We remind ourselves that like much of the world, those we are reaching out to have had their lives turned upside down and are doing what they can to survive. As of November 12th, 2020, we had received just over 4,700 complaints, which is an average of 47 per day. Outreach, education, and engagement has been key to our efforts. We've participated in several of the regular stakeholder engagement platforms, including the city's government and tribal nations telebriefing, briefings with the business sector, faith-based and community organizations, as well as colleges and universities where we discuss the compliance team. For each of these sectors, the county has a specific webpage, virtual biweekly telebriefings for real-time support, and sector email for direct technical assistance. County teams have supported these sectors by providing one-on-one technical assistance for the sectors, as well as providing thousands of COVID-19 resource materials, such as flyers, posters, and brochures in multiple languages. The county, as well as most cities, have greatly relaxed zoning and land use requirements to allow businesses and other sectors to modify their operations to shift to outdoors. This includes operations in parking lots, sidewalks, community parks, and even closing roads. We've also reached out to the state over 60 times to request flexibility or broader interpretations of state direction to help our local businesses and entities find solutions where appropriate. We've held regular meetings with individual cities to collaborate on compliance for their respective jurisdiction. Our approach is customized with each city based on their preferences. Most cities have elected to take the lead on the initial education and engagement upon receiving complaints, requesting assistance from the county when needed. This coordination could be in the form of county staffing for education and engagement at larger events, or escalated enforcement on challenging cases. In other cases, some jurisdictions have requested that the county's safe reopening compliance team take the lead on education and engagement all the way through enforcement efforts. On the next slide, we have a chart that shows our average daily complaints each week since the safe reopening compliance team was established in early August. Each bar represents the average number of complaints received each day of that week. The average daily complaints have ranged from 40 to 50 most of the time, with a spike in late August and another last week. Over the past week, our complaints averaged over 70 a day. The increase coincides with the county shifting back to the purple tier with greater restrictions. The trend line shows the increase in public complaints since the compliance team was established. Of the complaints received to date, roughly 45% are regarding an entity which is operating that is prohibited or restricted in some manner under the health order. An example would be indoor operations that were prohibited or restricted by capacity. 45% of the complaints are regarding an entity not complying with their safe reopening plan. This could include a lack of proper mask adherence or social distancing. The remaining 10% are complaints such as concerns about neighbors in residential areas. In most cases, we found voluntary compliance through education and engagement. Sometimes this is through navigating requirements of the health order. In other instances, it's involved working with a business or entity to modify operations, such as shifting to outdoor activities or modifying indoor operations. In terms of escalated enforcement, we've issued 51 cease and desist orders, as well as 7 shutdown orders across the region. This includes 29 cease and desist orders issued yesterday. On November 10th, a letter was sent from the public health officer to mayors, local mayors, city managers, and chief law enforcement officers, reminding all that slowing of COVID-19 must be the utmost priority, including the importance of their role in taking enforcement actions. Preventing even one transmission can not only make the difference between life and death, but it can make a difference in the livelihoods and the economy. This completes the update on compliance. Andy Pease will next speak to spending estimates.
Thank you, and good morning. Recommendation 2 of today's board item is to ratify all actions taken by the CAO, the public health officer, the directors of DPC and DGS in response to the local health emergency and local emergency. Recommendation 3 is to take any other action necessary to address the COVID pandemic emergency response. As part of today's ratification and other actions taken, it includes utilizing CARES Act funds under the T3 component of the CARES Act framework to continue the COVID-19 Positive Recovery Stipend Program. As a reminder, on August 25th, your board allocated $2 million of general fund balance for the establishment of a COVID-19 Income Replacement Fund, or what is now referred to as the COVID-19 Positive Recovery Stipend Program. The intent of the program is to help stop the spread of COVID-19 by providing financial assistance through a one-time stipend of $1,000 for employed individuals who are confirmed COVID-19 positive and not otherwise eligible for paid time off or other unemployment benefits, to ensure that those who are sick and asked to isolate have the resources available to stay home and not return to work until the required isolation period is over. As of today, we have nearly 2,400 eligible applicants, and the program has exceeded the initial $2 million that was allocated by the board back in August. Last week, we were considering the possibility of turning away additional applications for this program due to lack of funds. However, recognizing the value this program offers to residents in hardship and to help remove the barriers that may prevent COVID-19 positive people from isolating, especially with a marked increase in cases in San Diego, the CAO authorized the continuation of the COVID-19 positive recovery stipend program until such time that the board could weigh in on the matter. Today's action would ratify the continuation of the program beyond the initial $2 million by utilizing CARES Act fund under the T3 component of the CARES Act framework, and based on the value and need of the program, it is recommended for the continuation of this program through the end of December, which is estimated to be an additional $2 million. That concludes my update, and I'll turn it back over to Chuck.
Thanks, Andy. In addition to receiving this update, we recommend your board take the following actions with respect to this item. Ratify all actions previously taken in response to this local health emergency and local emergency, and take any other action necessary to address the COVID-19 pandemic emergency response. Subject to your questions, this concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Chuck, Nick, and Vince, and obviously Dr. Wooten for your presentations. We do have 37 individuals that want to speak on this item. I'm going to basically allow up to 2 minutes for each speaker. We would ask you not to be repetitive. We understand that this is an extremely emotional issue and that there's businesses that have been hard hit by COVID-19 and by the various public health orders, but we do ask you to be respectful of the county personnel that have responsibilities in these areas. They're doing the best job that they possibly can, and I sincerely appreciate all the work that they've been doing. With that, if the clerk could go ahead and call the first speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also note for the record that we received 28 e-comments on this item. As a reminder for the callers, if you do not wish to speak on this item, please hang up and call back when the board begins discussion of the next item. We will be calling speakers by the last 4 digits of their phone number, and you'll hear notification that your call has been unmuted. You'll then need to press *6 to unmute your phone. Each caller will be asked to state their name for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes to address the board as the chairman indicated. You'll hear the sound when your time is up, so please conclude your comments at that time. I would remind the public speakers that they should mute their TV or live video stream before they begin speaking. Erin, if you could please identify the first caller.
Thank you. Our first caller is 4205. You need to press *6 to unmute yourself, please. And if we don't hear from you, we will come back to you later before the item concludes. So 4205 is not ready to go. We will go to 9926. 9926.
Hi, my name is Jackie Verdura. I work at a neighborhood sports bar as a bartender. We reopened about 2 months ago, even though we don't serve food, because if we didn't, we would have had to close forever. Our bar never got a PPP loan, even though we were one of the first ones to apply, and have still had to pay all of our bills like rent. So we really didn't have a choice.
If we are forced to comply with another lockdown, we will not survive. That'll be the end of our business. On a personal level, my unemployment money comes out to less than 20% of my regular income, so it's not nearly enough for me to live on. And it's the same situation for almost every other bartender and server I know as well. That might not resonate with you. I know you're getting paid either way if we get shut down or not. Our bar isn't only a drinking establishment, but we're a social hub for the local community. People come in to see their friends, and for some of our regulars, it's their only source of social interaction. When we reopened, a lot of people told me how happy they were about it and how depressed they were staying at home and away from other people. In fact, some of our regulars, after the initially promised 2 weeks of lockdown, started getting together at people's houses in groups of about 10 without masks or social distancing. So if you shut us down, you'll be bankrupting us for no reason because our regulars are still going to be getting together either way. We don't enforce the guidelines at the bar either when we've been open because people don't want to follow them. The whole point of people coming in is for them to meet up with each other and not stick with their own households. And the few new customers that we've had come in have said how refreshing it is because they actually feel normal again. In the 2 months that we've been open, we have not had one case of the virus, and we haven't been wearing masks. We've been mingling and hugging each other, and there's not been one case in our bar. The police have even come by a couple other bars that I know of as well, and haven't done anything, even knowing we're not supposed to be open and are not enforcing the guidelines because they don't want to shut down already struggling businesses. I'm going to end by saying that as a person who talks to the public constantly, the overwhelming response I've got is that they do not want to be shut down. And as our representatives, you are not our parents. Your job is not to protect us at the expense of our freedoms. And people do not want another lockdown. You're supposed to be representing the will of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2465. 2465.
Hi, my name is Edie Johnson. When I hear Dr. Wooten talking, and I appreciate what she's done, but when she says, is it, 3 or 4 weeks, what I hear is a moving goalpost. When I hear there's no single driver for cases, I understand that to mean that it's countywide. And when I hear that the vaccine will be available, what I hear is you'll have to be vaccinated. And all of this to me points to the fact that we're dealing with a virus. And I understand that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm concerned that it really is an oncoming train. What that means to me is more suicides and abuse and overdoses and addictions and depression. So the increased testing, yes, I understand that correlates to higher positive test results. However, the deaths and the hospitalizations are not following that same pattern. The patience of the general public has been exhausted. I think you've seen evidence of that, with the rally yesterday and over the weekend and other things that have been happening. We have slowed the transmission of the virus. We have been patient since March. We have done our part. I urge you to protect the vulnerable, but we need to fully reopen. It's not the government's job to protect us from every little thing that can happen. This cannot continue to go on forever. I urge you to take the local control, but the local control to reopen our county. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4978. 4978.
Yes, this is Richard Golden. I'm calling. I am in favor of suppressing and containing the virus at a low level and opening safely forever. The things we can all do are the things that Dr. Wooten talks about every day. However, we need more than that, and we need more than just the purple tier. We need the following bold local government programs and expansion of programs. Expand testing capacity now, including over 1 million rapid card tests. With increased prevalence, the need for surveillance testing and cold and flu, which will mimic COVID symptoms, we will have super increased demand for testing. In the USA, the testing programs have collapsed. Encourage truth-telling to case managers and contact tracers for all politicians. 44% report no exposure, yet somehow they got infected. They are lying. Politicians encourage them to tell the truth and stop mocking
testing, tracing, and public health orders. They can break the chains of transmission. Targeted surveillance testing and an airport passenger survey and surveillance testing program. Those proposals have been submitted. Expand in public service announcement and promote the public health room's temporary lodging program. It works great for the few that know about it, but it does not work for those that do not know about it. It needs to be expanded, and people should get approved for 3 days the minute someone gets symptoms. Being approved after you get your test results is way too late. Last, request tribal governments give us an acceptable plan of action on COVID. They are having COVID parties every night in their casinos, nightclubs, restaurants, and bowling alleys. This contributes to ruining it for all of us. If they don't give us an acceptable plan, we must take action as a county. Remember, we are still under the stay-at-home order. Many other programs, too numerous to mention in a 2-minute phone call,
Thank you,
need
sir.
to be implemented. We can open and stay open forever.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wood. Thank you, all healthcare workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 3943. 3943.
Hi, my name's Shannon Rohr. I just would like to say I'm thankful for this opportunity to present some important information to the board to consider regarding the PCR testing for COVID-19. I've been in contact with a local company which sells these tests. They are considered the golden standard for COVID testing. The RT-PCR test involves a cycling function. The more you cycle the test material in the lab, the more people test positive for COVID. If you cycle the test material from 40 to 60 times, every sample tests positive. If you cycle it 10 times, no one tests positive. If you cycle it 30 times, some test positive and some don't. This means that the number of people testing positive can be easily manipulated by how many times the test material is cycled. It would seem possible and even probable, given the arbitrary control taken by the California state government, that this test was picked purposely so that the medical czars or corrupted governing entities can upregulate or downregulate the pandemic at will, making it appear as second waves. I call on this governing body to require complete transparency on such testing and the meaning of these tests, as this has a direct and profound effect on all of our daily lives. In addition, I call on this body to not allow the corrupt governor's playbook for COVID-19 response to dictate this county's response. I call on your sense of morality to lift this oppression from the people in San Diego County. There is no medical emergency. There actually never has been. It's been a testing emergency.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5587. 5587.
Hi, I'm Dr. Holly Yang, president of the San Diego County Medical Society, representing over 4,600 physicians in San Diego. As cases of COVID-19 increase in the worst surge we have seen yet across the United States, in many parts of our country, hospitals are at capacity and systems are being strained. We have a chance now in San Diego to keep our community safe. We must follow public health recommendations at the state and local levels to tighten restrictions temporarily to keep the health of our people and our economy safe. It is a false narrative to say that we must choose between the economy and the health of our citizens. These are linked. It is also incredibly irresponsible and unhinged from reality to say that ignoring healthcare measures is the way to get to a healthy economy. We must first focus on the health and welfare of our community so that we can safely reopen. Unfortunately, we are at a point in this country and in our state that we must tighten up restrictions to get us more quickly to a place of greater openness. We are not just talking about deaths from COVID, which should be motivation enough, but from all other medical conditions when there isn't capacity in our hospitals. We are also talking about the long-term residual effects of the disease on people who recover from COVID, some of which who are experiencing significant disability.
We must keep the infections rate low, first and foremost, to keep our healthcare system functioning, to allow our schools and economy to safely reopen, and to buy us time to have appropriate research to develop safe and effective vaccines and time to get our community immunized. I want to thank our local and state public health officers and thank and encourage our elected officials, our law enforcement, and our community to keep all of us safe. Please continue to support programs that provide financial assistance to individuals and businesses affected by COVID. Please continue to ask our community to wear a mask over the mouth and nose, stay 6 feet apart from others not living in the same household, wash their hands, and get their flu shot. Also, I'd like to ask everyone to consider safe and alternative ways to celebrate the holidays as listed on the CDPH and San Diego County websites so that we can all be together with our families intact in 2021. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2432. 2432.
Hello?
Hello there.
Hi. First, I had a question because I don't see the Board of Supervisors, and I want to know if each of them is listening.
Yes, they are all listening on the Zoom meeting.
Okay. What I wanted to ask them was, do each of you think we are facing such a great emergency that each of you are willing to give up your salary and income? Because that is what you are asking us to do. And I wondered if I would be able to get a response to that. Ma'am, this is your opportunity to provide comments to the board. Okay, so what I want to say is, how about you do it first and then we'll consider it. Give up your salary and income, use up your life savings, maybe risk evictions, and then we'll talk. That's all I have. Thank you.
And can you please state your name for the record?
Diane Ake.
Thank you. Our next caller is 1733. 1733.
Hello, my name is Nika Knight. I am an owner and the managing operator of Pine Valley House and Silver Queen Saloon restaurants in Pine Valley in the heart of San Diego's Mountain Empire, where we believe that we are the largest non-governmental employer across the area's 13 communities. Staying open for takeout service is not enough for us to operate and to continue to employ those staff. We're an essential service offering one of the very few food resources for our area's 18,000 plus residents. We don't have a full supermarket out here. Without us, locals face costly and cumbersome drives of 45 or 60 minutes or more for similar resources, and then must instead go into the populous areas with a much greater COVID exposure risk. During the last 4 weeks, 70% of our days have had temperatures dipped into the 20s, and 95% of our days temperatures dipped into the 30s. Outdoor dining out here is forcibly a seasonal affair. Heaters and a tent won't cut it in 22 or even 27 degrees. Offering intermittent outdoor dining for a few hours here and there when a few hours are warm enough doesn't work. It is ludicrous that a relatively enclosed tent with heaters in a parking lot in Kearney Mesa is deemed safer than our 3,500 square feet of dining area with loads of spacing, as is the idea that Walmart shopping is safer when they don't even record visitors for contact tracing. Science and safety should be applied equally, fairly, and reasonably, completely across the board, as should the practices of gathering, assessing, and utilizing data. The 20-second hand wash and surface sanitation have been the restaurant industry's stock and trade for decades, and our efforts have dramatically intensified in the face of COVID, following every requirement to the letter. Broad brushstroke policies do not account for the very low occurrence of COVID cases in our area, nor do they offer feasible scenarios to maintain any semblance of hope. Do not penalize those of us that are doing the real hard work on the ground successfully. Please allow limited capacity indoor dining to continue, especially where specific situations require it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 1241. 1241.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is John Weber. I'm a resident of District 4, and I'm calling today to plead to this board to consider the actions that you've taken against San Diego's small businesses. There is a blatant lack of leadership in Sacramento, which has now fully consumed us here in San Diego County. Members of this board have casually suggested that closing our businesses for weeks on end is not significant,
when in reality, every day we are closed, another life is ruined. The fact that this board continues to punish our small businesses, knowing full well that we are not the problem, shines a very bright light on this county board's lack of understanding. Dr. Wooten rightfully just stated that we need to change behaviors to slow the virus, but it matters what behaviors we change. Closing businesses that are among the least responsible for the spread, no matter what you think, won't move the needle and is more damaging than you all care to acknowledge. The legacy of this board will be that when San Diegans needed leadership, there was none. That when San Diegans needed a voice to push back against the state, they heard none. And that when San Diegans sought help, they were shut down. The largest economic catastrophe in modern history is happening on this board's watch. And when people look back to see what this board did to mitigate these impacts, history will not be kind. This is what you'll be remembered for. When the pandemic ebbs and this board finally pulls their head out of the sand to survey the damage in our community, they will see entire sections of the county laid to waste. There will be studies commissioned and taxpayer money spent to figure out how to reignite commerce in this county. And of course, the simple answer is not to have burned it down in the first place. And what will the county be saying to try to invigorate our economy once more and convince entrepreneurs to take a risk? Whatever it is, it won't be anything that the business community can trust. Because when San Diego businesses needed this board of supervisors, they were nowhere to be found. All of San Diego is begging you, wake up and take full control of our future. Take control of our county. Sacramento is failing us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 9486. 9486. And again, if we don't hear from you when we call your number, we will come back to you. Our next caller is 0650. 0650.
Yes, hello. This is Ana Alatorre, and I am a small business owner here in San Diego. It's a husband and wife team. Been around for 35 years, and we have now, as of the last chart we looked at, lost over 75% of our business. We're now burning through our savings. Of course, I mean, we've tried to be responsible. You know, we don't overspend. We have savings. We have emergency funds, but we're burning through all of that. And pretty quick here, we're not going to have money to cover things like the mortgage, our bloated and inflated and exaggerated property taxes, our insurance, you know, basic things that we need to live. I mean, we are hanging on by a thread. I sat here and I listened to your wonderful presentation. I appreciate all the time and effort you guys put into this. As your boss, because I am your boss, I am the one who voted for you. I appreciate that you are working, but it's time for me to tell you that your numbers are very one-sided. All you experts that you line up, all the messaging, to use your verbiage, has been in one direction. As your employer, I am telling you that that is not the experience of those of us out here on the streets. I have been to numerous events and hangouts and whatever because we're human and we're tactile and we need to be around other people. We've heard of tons of people who get COVID, and you know what they get? They get a sinus infection. And 2 weeks later, they're fine, and everyone's back to normal. What you are saying, actually, I should say, what you are doing thunders so loudly that we do not hear what you're saying. We need to reevaluate what the city is doing, and it needs to start with, you know what? If you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, you must let us free. You must let us get back to life, or you will be running out of money. And then I'm not sure where you think you're going to get money. How do you extract money from people who have lost everything? Thank you. I will end my comments there.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2059. 2059. And again, if we don't hear from you, we will come back to you. Our next caller is 5464. 2059 is now on the line.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, my name's Danielle Dozier, and I'm the general manager at Churchill's Pub and Grill in San Marcos, California. Obviously, over the last 9 months, the restaurant industry, as well as local small businesses, have been severely impacted. We've seen decreases in our numbers by 90% when we were just allowed to operate for takeout levels. Having a limited indoor capacity increased our numbers, you know, to somewhere about around 70 to 60%, but still nothing what we've seen before. This restaurant has employed over 40 people before COVID, and we're seeing drops to 14 people. With the current regulations, we're going to see cuts by 50%. So we're looking at having 7 employed people at our restaurant. This is just not enough to financially be able to afford small businesses to be able to stay open. I fully believe that we have something better that we can do, and that would take all businesses unifying and coming together in order to figure out what's the best thing to do to stop the spread of COVID, as well as helping businesses survive financially. I think that we should be able to allow businesses to stay open as long as those regulations are fully being diligent by all businesses throughout the county. The unfortunate part is that the businesses that are diligent with what they're doing and following the CDC guidelines and regulations are being lumped together with ones that do not. And we're seeing those numbers go up at places where they're not following guidelines. And the unfortunate part is that we are all being lumped together in the same thing, and regulations are being influenced for us, but we're not. I'm sorry.
I think we lost that caller, so we're going to move on to 6784. 6784.
Good morning. My name is Marty Martinez. My comments today pertain to the COVID-19 daily status charts from November 16, 2020. First, for slide 3, titled COVID-19 Hospital Census, please take an action to include a definition of, quote, suspect COVID-19 patients, unquote, and separate the numbers between the 2 categories of cases and these suspect patients. Second, slide 11, titled COVID-19 Confirmed Hospital Census, shows that starting on October 31st, the COVID hospital census numbers will show an increase due to a change in the hospital census definition. Please take an action to add an additional slide to explain the definition before October 31st and the definition beginning on October 31st so that the data can be best interpreted, especially since the graph shows a rise in hospitalizations beginning on October 31st. Who made the decision to change the hospital census definition and why? Third, slide 14 titled COVID-19 cases by date reported. Please take an action to divide the data by the test method that was used for each case. For example, on 11/15, how many of the 833 tests were nucleic amplification tests, how many were antigen tests, and how many were antibody tests? Also, please report the number of cycle thresholds that were used for the nucleic acid amplification test. As I understand from a high-ranking employee of the National Institute of Health, any more than 35 cycles represents dead nucleotides. The number of cycles should always be included with the test results given to the patient and the doctor. Fourth, please take an action to add a slide that reports the case fatality rate and reproduction rate for COVID-19 and compare it to a normal and above normal flu season and to TB. In conclusion, I have called into the last 3 County Board of Supervisors meetings, and I still stand behind my comments that we are under a constitutional crisis under the current health orders, the validity of testing, and my concerns about vaccines.
Thank you, sir.
Expire the order and begin anew. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 0625. 0625.
My name is Melissa Radwick,
As elected officials and required by the California Constitution, you have taken an oath to support and defend both the Constitution of the United States and California. As supervisors, you have no constitutional authority nor any other form of lawful authority to oppose and violate the very documents to which you swore an oath. By conspiring with other public servants to discriminate against the citizens' lawful entry into any business establishment, you are depriving us of our rights as protected by Title II of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993, Civil Code 51, free and equal access to public accommodations, and Civil Code 52.1 prevents threat, intimidation, or coercion. No law is valid or lawful that violates the state or federal constitution. No health order, emergency order, state of emergency, municipal ordinance, or private business policy may suspend or violate the Constitution, period. According to California Code 3700, no governing body may make a law that is a conflict with another law. Thus, all of these health orders are unlawful, null and void, and carry no force. All of you county supervisors are in violation of Penal Code 504 PC, which makes a public officer guilty of embezzlement if he or she fraudulently uses any public or funds in any way not consistent with your official authority. You are using the CARES Act fund fraudulently because there is no emergency. Only 60 deaths have been COVID only. This is not an emergency. Fraud is a felony and carries a prison sentence. Penal Code 148.3 PC, the California statute that makes it a crime for a person to make a false report of an emergency. 18 U.S. Code 1038 makes it a felony to provide false information regarding biological hazards and hoaxes. If someone dies because of your skewed information, you will have a sentence of life in prison. Wilma Wooten keeps saying cases are up to scare people. If that scared constituent stays home and dies from a suicide or drug overdose, that death is on you. Cases should be counted only if people are ill, specifically with COVID. 18 U.S. Code 1040 makes it a felony to perpetuate a fraud in connection with major disaster emergency benefits. California Government Code. I need to finish, please. I'm just about done. The above statements are true, factual, lawful, and constitutionally ordained. Based on the aforementioned irrefutable facts, please state which of the following actions the board is going to take. Declare the termination of the local emergency as required by law. Continue to violate the state and federal laws, including those of felonies. You're not above the law. Dozens of California public officials, I'm almost done, please, one sentence, behind bars, including Lee Baca, former Los Angeles sheriff, who is in federal prison detention. I will send a follow-up registered letter to the supervisor with the laws they are breaking. Thank you for listening, and I am upset, and I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7600. 7600.
Good morning, board, and thank you. My name is Bill Larson, and I've lived in San Diego my whole life. I went to Kate Sessions Elementary, Lakeside Junior High, and graduated from Escondido High School. I've owned small businesses over the last 25 years, resided on multiple charitable boards and neighborhood associations and church boards. My significant other and I have 7 children between us, and I have many, many varied contacts in the community, including healthcare workers, and know no one who is in favor of the current mandates and shutdowns. It's time for we the people to have a voice to assert our freedoms. The original lockdowns were a couple of weeks to quote unquote flatten the curve, and here we are in November 8, months later, with the state controlling our small businesses. With a tiered system that doesn't make sense or correlate to the reality of the death toll of COVID-19. Estimated fatality rates for COVID-19 have been incorrectly calculated, using only cases serious enough to seek medical care instead of total cases in the general population. 80 to 90% of cases are mild and left out of data calculations. And our children remain at home, damaging their psyche and hurting their emotional state. Dr. Wooten's presentation earlier does not address the fact that the overwhelming majority of cases are a mild sickness, not severe. With hospitals that have plenty of capacity, ventilators going unused, it is time to put this behind us and move on safely. We all know the numbers just aren't there. It is a sickness that we can deal with and that we choose to deal with. Isn't that what this democracy and this board is about to support? Our choice to deal with this without crippling our businesses and our children's mental state. Today, you have a choice to stand up and make a difference against closures, and do not penalize our businesses any longer in San Diego County. Please, you are put in these positions to support we the people. Help our businesses and churches to stay open. We need your help, your support, your honesty, and your courage to back the citizens and your constituents in truth. I'll close with a great quote that was yesterday that should echo in your chambers and should echo over the alarmist tones of Dr. Wooten's presentation. There is more to living than being afraid to die. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 1536. 1536.
Hi, good morning. My name is Scott Ashton. I'm the CEO of the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce. An article in this weekend San Diego Union Tribune reported that 36,000 jobs have already been lost along the North County 78 corridor, and that's just in 5 cities in our county. Hotels, restaurants, and entertainment-related businesses have been among the hardest hit. And I believe that much of this was preventable, and it is due to a gross overreach by our state government and an acquiescence by our county government. The current tiered system implemented by the governor provides no hope for our small businesses to recover and will ultimately close many of them permanently. This system allows the state government to continue to choose winners and losers, and that's completely unacceptable. Our communities have already experienced the permanent loss of some of our most valued small businesses, and we ask for the county's partnership in preventing further economic devastation. I've heard little, if any, acknowledgement from our health officials and leaders that this health crisis extends way beyond COVID-19. Recently, our district attorney, Summer Steffen, sent a letter to the governor expressing concerns over a drastic increase in child predatory behavior over the internet and increased domestic violence reports since the stay-at-home orders were put in place. Health officials are essentially ignoring the public health impacts of these closures, such as pervasive economic insecurity, drug overdoses, suicides, increases in child abuse, food insecurity, as well as depression and anxiety associated with isolation. And our public health crisis is way greater than COVID-19, and the acknowledgement of these facts is way overdue. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4205. 4205.
Hi, thank you. My name is Abigail Allardyce, and I'm a concerned citizen. I want to thank you, supervisors, for taking my call. I would like to impress upon you the need to break away from the state colored tiered system and come up with our own plan. Time is short, so I will only focus on one area. We have been told that any more than 7 outbreaks in 1 week in our whole entire 3.25 million county population is dangerous and constitutes an emergency, leading to more businesses shutting down and tightening of personal restrictions. This is absurd. It's unrealistic in such a large population, and it is unachievable. Whatever metrics Sacramento has based this tiered system on doesn't seem consistent with what we are experiencing here in San Diego County. We almost always have more than 10 outbreaks in a week, and with that, our hospitals are not full. Since March of this year, we've had less than 4,500 total COVID hospitalizations, while at any given time, we have more than 5,000 acute and ICU beds available. 7 outbreaks does not directly correlate to I don't know how many does for our county, but that is something that you as supervisors with more data for sure would need to figure out. I would trust you more than some staff 500 miles away who are trying to treat all 58 California counties under this colored tier system. Yes, I understand this virus is here and it is spreading, and at times we need to respond like we are in an emergency. You are always in a state of emergency. State directives don't seem to fit the reality of what is happening here. So let's take control and make decisions for what is best for our county instead of politicians who are 500 miles away. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2752. 2752.
Hello, I am Paula Stager from Artistic Ways of Production. I feel the pleas to let our county control openings and closures are falling on deaf ears in Sacramento. As Vice Chairman Desmond knows, I sent a very detailed message to the governor's office last month and a copy of it to our state senator and representative, as well as the news media and the California State Association of Counties. So far, KUSI has been the only one to respond. Didn't even get an auto reply from the governor's office. I think the time for talk is over. I'm asking you to ignore Sacramento and simply take control of our county's COVID-19 response. I know you fear the loss of state funds if you do, but I'll bet if you weigh that against the loss of tax revenues by staying closed, the unemployment and EBT being paid, plus the cost of the increase in depression-related incidents, it'll be pretty much a wash. I don't think the governor has the power to jail you for sidestepping him. Now, if you don't do that and we continue to bow to the state, I would at least like you to request live entertainment be listed as a category with opening guidelines. At the moment, we don't have a clue when we can get back to work, and it's simply not right to be totally ignored. We are not elective icing on the cake. We are vital to the mental well-being of our fellow humans. And how about a special CARE Act for the entertainment industry, which in this nation is about $300 billion a year. Again, the time for talk is over. It's just time to let all San Diego businesses open responsibly, as we are willing and able to do. If all of a sudden hospitalizations spike like crazy, of course you can close us back down, and we'll do so willingly. Thank you so much for all your efforts, and I hope and pray you'll take the next step and say no more to Sacramento. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Our next caller is 4497.
Hello, my name is Angie Rogers. I'm calling from North County, and I'm calling in for our youth. I'm wanting to know where is our update on our mental health of our youth. Back in September, you guys were given an update, and at this time, it was really pretty bad and that was a long time ago. At that point, we said we had an unprecedented number of kids going to the emergency room due to suicidal ideations. We had 12 kids that had committed suicide between the ages of 15 and 18 in this county. I'm just wanting to know, where is that update? Our kids are suffering. There's a study that came out from the CDC last week that's saying that kids that are in high school have a 31% increase of going to the hospital ER with suicidal ideations. These kids are suffering, and you guys as a board in the county are doing absolutely nothing for them. You have continued to ignore them. You have continued to let Sacramento push off their youth sports, their high school sports. These kids are suffering. The high school kids aren't going to school. They are having to sit in their rooms all day long on distance learning. They are not allowed to go out and practice. It is insane. These kids are suffering, and you should see it. The CDC even said it. 30% increase in these kids going to the hospital with suicide ideations. I want to know when the board is going to address this issue. I honestly do not know how you guys sleep at night knowing that you are absolutely ignoring our youth, and they are suffering. And my second question is, what was the change made by the state of California on October 31st that, quote from your guys' slides, it says that starting on the 31st, the census numbers will show an increase in the change from the hospital census definition. What is this definition? Why are we having a change 8 months into a pandemic on the census definition? From that date to yesterday, we had went from 262 to 365 people in the hospital with no increases. I want to know what the change is and why it's making our hospitals look so much more than they really are. And plus, please, please, please do something for our youth.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please stand up for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 7287. 7287.
Hi, this is Neil Walton. I am a church leader here in San Diego County, and most churches don't have the luxury to have a religious meeting in a private and dignified manner in their parking lot since they come off the streets. Churches are not the hot spots. It's the nature of a religious person to be in compliance, and we were gratefully able to open in September under all the county and state guidelines, and we have had safe, wonderful indoor gatherings. My call is for you to consider your defense as supervisors, our number one freedom, which is freedom of religion. How come we cannot worship indoors when many other sectors, and gratefully for those employees, are employed, but are in close proximity, being tattoo parlors, hair salons, barbershops, and retail? Thankfully, those people are employed, but they have to work in close proximity. Where, think about why we gather for religion and for church observance. We gather to be healed. We gather to be whole. We gather to be united. We gather to be strengthened.
with one another and with the word that we are receiving and feeling the good spirit of God. And so therefore, I ask you to consider the eliminating the discrepancies that are occurring, and by having our state suppress our freedom of religion, which is ultimately leading to our health and physical health, and especially emotional health, will be strengthened as we are able to gather indoors in our church buildings, safely gathered in distance. I look on the screen here and I see there's 11 of you in mass there in an unventilated room and yet we cannot gather in a large chapel in a church indoors, all safely distanced, and only one person who is speaking without their mask on. So I ask you to consider eliminating discrepancies. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 2891. 2891.
Hi, my name is Kay Slate. I'm speaking on behalf of Small Fitness Studios in San Diego. As a citizen of San Diego, I'm truly thankful for your overabundance of caution as it relates to COVID-19 and the time you put forth to protect our citizens. However, I'm also taken aback by the most recent closures. San Diego strip clubs are permitted to have indoor operations while we are closing a number of additional outlets that many would agree are far more essential, such as schools that haven't opened yet, places of worship, and gyms, to name a few. While I do not think that big box gyms should be in full service, I do wholeheartedly believe in the power of a physically and mentally sound mind and body, and know firsthand how having a workout facility available has aided me through these trying times. That being said, small studios operating at low percentages with limited classes and extremely high cleaning, sanitation, and disinfectant guidelines in accordance with the CDC guidelines are hardly the same as big box gyms, and thus should be considered for separation. For example, at the Forest Ranch Club Pilates, there are 12 reformers. However, only 6 members can attend a class and have a reformer between each other, so are at least 12 feet apart. We enter the studio with our masks on and do not remove them until we leave the studio. The maximum number of people in the studio at any one time is 6 members, 1 instructor, and 1 front desk person. So 8 people is under the max of 10 people for a gathering. When class is over, each member disinfects everything he touched, and then the instructor and front desk person goes over each item again with the disinfectant. All doorknobs and restrooms are also wiped down. What else can be done? The reopening of our city facilities, as I'm sure you know, is not a one-size-fits-all solution. I know that you are aware of these circumstances as salons and their closures or in the purple tier have been amended. We're asking for the sake of small businesses that are already struggling, for the employees of these facilities trying to make a living, and for the citizens that support these businesses that are also struggling, that this be amended. Thank you. If it is safe for a strip club to operate, it is surely safe for a small studio with the utmost standards of cleanliness and the care for their clients to operate as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next caller is 1847. 1847.
Good morning. My name is Ted Levis, and I'm from San Diego. It is apparent from day-to-day life that most people perceive COVID differently than the government perceives COVID. After 8 months, people view the COVID statistics and assess their risks on a COVID death rate basis. Death rates are now dropping to near flu-like levels at 0.45% of infections. People make their choices based upon needs and risk. The government views COVID statistics on an infection rate basis. Infection rates ebb and flow are now at slightly above August levels. COVID is not going away. We must work with it, with reality. People know the government cannot stop COVID. People know the definition of a pandemic. Thus, people are learning to work around COVID-19 based upon known risks. Only 1.8% of the San Diego population is tested positive for coronavirus, or about 65,000 people in 8 months. This means more than 3.24 million
of the 3.3 million people living in San Diego County have been unaffected by the coronavirus, except to the extent the government has ruined or negatively affected their lives. People do understand this. We are sacrificing far too much for too few. San Diego County has experienced less than 1,000 COVID deaths over 8 months, with only 50 or so deaths with those having no pre-existing conditions. People read and understand this. With total deaths of 926 people, this equates to 0.03% of the county's total population. It is reasonable to assume more people have suffered death or illness from hypertension or stress from the government demanding they shut their businesses they have spent their entire lives building. The state's metrics cannot be one size fits all. It is too big. San Diego County has nothing to do with San Francisco County, which has nothing to do with Placer County. San Diego's current and history of coronavirus infections and death do not justify more restrictions. Our numbers suggest more businesses be allowed to open. I'll close by saying San Diego's supervisors and actions have crippled many small business commercial property owners. San Diego County should not prevent property owners from realizing the very value upon which their property is being taxed.
Thank you, sir.
The board should reduce or abate property taxes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next caller is 3488. 3488.
Hi, good morning. The safest place other than my home or taking neighborhood walks that I have been in since March have been the small businesses, the small mom and pop restaurants, and our synagogue. Costco is its regular madhouse, and the zoo was mobbed with LA residents in October when I took my kids. Think of all the people who sit on planes, sometimes eating and drinking, all the people riding the public buses, the dozens I saw sitting in small rooms verifying ballots at the registrar's office, some of you sitting in the same room right now, yet we can't go to a religious service indoors where it's a huge space and people are many pews apart. Business owners have shut down forever and more continue to. What is it that all of you think is going to happen next? Should they go homeless? Should they contact our reliable unemployment department, state unemployment department, the EDD? This EDD is so reliable that they couldn't handle the caseload with 30-year-old software. So reliable that thousands still have not gotten money from March claims. So reliable that thousands of fraudsters have gotten millions of dollars in California, and there are only a couple of dozen of reps, customer service reps, to deal with the complicated cases calling in. People are losing jobs because of business slowdowns. They cannot rely on the EDD. What's going to happen with those people? The fastest increases of COVID, as well as the largest group, is the 18 to 39-year-old. You all know this. You see it in your stats every day. This is in San Diego County. I personally see this age group partying on PV's beaches as I rollerblade and my kids bike ride with me on the boardwalk. I just saw it on Sunday. You are not putting a dent in their behaviors. The state government, CalEdge, even though they're not in the office for a few months right now, none of them, the government, there's no dent. So what ends up happening is the choice has become to close or extremely limit the places a lot of that group are not even using. We hear about the COVID fatigue. It's a death sentence to the places I referred you. There is no COVID fatigue happening in these places. They are way more cautious. They are sanitizing, over-sanitizing. Costco cannot compare. Yeah. Please remember that you get a paycheck no matter what, and unless you all start donating a few months' paychecks to these small businesses, you will never feel their pain. Thank you.
Thank you, and could you please state your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, Shane McCool.
Thank you. Thanks. Our next caller is 0143. 0143.
Hi, my name is Laura Welts, and I'm a concerned citizen. The California Emergency Services Act and the Governor's State of Emergency Proclamation both acknowledge local authority to end the state of emergency here in San Diego. The California Emergency Services Act also says the governing body shall proclaim the termination of the local emergency at the earliest possible date that conditions warrant. The latest San Diego COVID data
indicates there were 0 new COVID deaths. This sounds like great news. And are the hospitals really at capacity? What is the data? Where is it? The earliest date that conditions warrant termination is today. Terminate the state of emergency. Please take back the authority of your office. San Diego is done with Sacramento's tears. Also, it doesn't seem like the California Emergency Services Act allows for using emergency funds for planning for future events, as you were advised by council at your last meeting. So could you clarify this for us? The COVID tests have proven to be inaccurate. New cases are irrelevant, especially when there are no new deaths in San Diego. Please stop the testing program. It just triggers more trouble for San Diego. And on a personal note, I am not able to wear a mask because I am recovering from a serious illness, and local businesses are not honoring the medical exemption in the local order. I've been aggressively kicked out of local grocery stores, and it is clear to me that these managers are terrified of either me or of facing further sanctions. These restrictions are pitting San Diegans against one another. It has to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 6089. 6089.
Hello, my name is Alan Gomez, and I'm just calling in today to voice my opinion in regards to my ability to safely and correctly take care of my family. During my time here in San Diego, I've grown to love the city and everything that it stands for. And I think recently with the effects, even though we do take everything as serious as possible, in the industry that I'm in, our goal has always been to provide a safe and sanitary environment for anybody that walks through the door. And I think with the COVID pandemic, everything's been heightened, and we've taken so many new approaches to follow CDC guidelines and ensure that all of our customers that walk through the door, as well as our employees, are in a safe environment, as well as those employees being able to provide for their families. So I'm calling in today to make sure that I'll be able to continue to take care of my family and put food on the table for them, as well as also my employees. Due to COVID, our business has been drastically affected, and not allowing customers to dine inside will probably drop our sales by another 68% based off the last 2 months. Furloughing employees, currently we are only employing 7 people on staff, whereas 2 months ago we had up to 15 employees working. The investment that we made on PPE in order to properly and safely operate our business was a huge expense that we took on, but we felt confident in doing it so that way we could provide to the community. Also for us as a business, we feel that we followed all the guidelines and are continuing to be punished. I think it is something that's very hard for us to see people gathering or see people posting things online where they're at specific house parties or mansion parties or renting Airbnbs and hosting parties where nobody is there policing them to see if they are actually wearing masks or social distancing or doing anything. And for us, what we do is we go above and beyond to make sure that we follow all the guidelines and ensure that everybody is 6 feet apart, as well as properly wearing masks. I thank you for the opportunity to talk today, and I hope that you will consider us being able to open inside. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 9842. 9842.
Thank you. I'm Paul Hedgie, CEO of the San Diego County Medical Society, representing over 4,600 physicians, trainees, and retired doctors in our community. I know public health restrictions and guidelines are tremendously difficult, frustrating, depressing, and damaging, but the spread of the disease is worse. I desperately wish we could loosen these restrictions. I encourage the states to follow the science and allow people to work when they can and when it can be shown to be safe. Most importantly, though, it's on every individual to fight this spread. It's not just something our government can do. We all need to be working together to do this. We must limit the contact we have with people outside of our individual households. We must wear masks every time we leave the household. We must keep track of outdoor activity as much as possible. I know it's hard to follow these guidelines,
I encourage our local government, along with state and federal entities, to do everything in their power to support our businesses and our people, so we aren't forced to decide between our fiscal health and our healthy actions. But above all, we need to keep following these masking guidelines. We need to wear our masks to help stop the spread. Thank you very much, and continue please to follow the sign.
Thank you. Our next caller is 9486. 9486.
Hi, my name is Greg Rodell. I'm a pastor in East County, and I just wanted to, first of all, before I make my comments, to respond to Supervisor Desmond and Supervisor Jacobs and thank them for their quick response to my email this past week. I was quite pleased with their response. I'm simply inquiring to the possibility of a process for receiving a waiver to hold indoor services despite the county's purple tier status. Obviously, these are incredibly challenging times, and obviously, I don't take this virus lightly, as I know many people who have been affected by this directly. But I also am quite aware of the arbitrary, inconsistent, and intellectually dishonest nature of many of the guidelines that we've been given. When strip clubs are allowed to remain open based upon their First Amendment grounds in San Diego County, and I quote the judge who said, "Harm to plaintiffs if the application is denied is greater than harm to the defendants if the application is granted." This is inconsistent. What about the church's right to establish or to practice their religion? This past weekend, we were closed following the guidelines. Our church has followed every guideline along the way. We closed down. I took that opportunity on a Sunday morning when I'm normally busy, and I drove the community, and I saw many churches that were open, many businesses that were still open. I personally visited our local essential, quote unquote, recreational marijuana shop, to only find out that there was 40 to 50 people in there in line to make their purchases. In the adjacent gymnasium, there were 75 to 100 people inside, all working out. Again, inconsistencies all over the place. Our church has made every effort to safely reopen and follow every single guideline, masks, everything that's been listed. But let me just give you a quick picture of our church body. Our sanctuary occupancy is 445. That would mean 25% or 100 people could attend. We currently hold 3 separate services. Over this past 2 weeks that we were available to be open, we had a total of less than 23% of our population there. 19 people inside a building of 3,500 square feet, all masked, all socially distanced, 59 people in one service, 45 in another. I close with this and simply say, it is time that we find a way to offer hope to people. I believe the church is an opportunity for that hope to be distributed. And I just request some sort of a waiver system and to stop painting all churches with one big broad brush. It does not make any sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next caller is 5464. 5464.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for meeting this morning and even allowing us to give our feedback. I really appreciate what you are doing right now. My comment lies as a small business owner. A lot of small businesses are capable of complying to CDC guidelines. So why are big businesses allowed to continue if small businesses have to shut down? We hear of all the new cases, but I don't see a emphasis on survival rates. Are the numbers even real? How many people are getting tested and are getting false positives? How many people are in the hospital and have other underlying conditions that are really the cause of it? I mean, in another country, my family's mother had a stroke and is now in ICU with COVID concerns. It's disconcerting, to say the least. I'm a single mother. I'm a domestic violence survivor. I lost my business during this COVID time after getting on my feet for the first time in 9 years. The real pandemic right now is fear. It's not a virus. I'm actually COVID positive right now. My family is COVID positive. My daughter's asymptomatic. My boys had a fever for about a day and a half, and I had a fever for about a day and a half. I've had worse colds than this. I'm healthy, thank God, and I understand the risk to people who are, compromised. I'll do my part and isolate.
but it's nothing to be afraid of. So why are we allowing strip clubs, as other people have been saying? This infuriates me. It infuriates me that churches have to shut down and strip clubs remain open. Suicide rates are high. Substance abuse rates are extremely high. And meanwhile, our families are forced to sit back and work up a balance on their rental units or their mortgages without any prospect of light at the end of the tunnel.
Thank you,
Supervisor Desmond, I really appreciate your speaking out for small businesses. I really hope that you guys all listen to the people. Please listen to us. We represent many.
Thank you.
Thank you. And could we get your name for the record, please?
Thank you. My name is Natalie Scott.
Thanks so much. And our next caller is 1047. 1047.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. My name is Guillermo Gonzalez. I manage my family's restaurant in Chula, Vista. Casa Don Diego is 51 years old. Now, for the last 9 months, we have complied to every guideline set by the state, city, or county to be safe for COVID. While doing so, we have also lost over 40% of our sales this year. We have opened every week, and we have been open through every change. Takeout only, patio only, 25%, 50% occupancy. Heck, at the beginning, we even broke a window on a door to serve takeouts from there. Throughout these 9 months, we have always followed the guidelines, and many thousands of meals served later, none of our employees has gotten sick. While I understand that one of the main reasons why we are successful at being safe is because we are following the guidelines, it is also clear to me that we are not the culprit of the current hike in infections in our county. So my question to you is, why are we paying the price? It is my strong belief that the restaurant industry has been one of the best behaved and one that, while in compliance, poses less risk. Yet we are one of the most penalized industries. The County of San Diego the leadership of the County of San Diego should take control of its own and then better decide who needs to be open and who needs to close. Because we need regulations tailored to our individual circumstances. I'd like to ask and directly address Supervisor Fletcher. Mr. Fletcher, please, I've seen some of your streams. Please leave politics out of this. To me, it seems as if you are aligned or better aligned with your politics rather than with the needs of the community here in San Diego. We need leaders. I'm sorry, I'm going to close with this. We need leaders to lead here in San Diego, because what are our leaders good for if they cannot lead this county? We need the County of Supervisors to take back control of the County of San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last caller is 7874. 7874. Would you like to address the board on this item?
Hi, this is Amy Klein. I hold a biology major from San Diego State. Humans have lived with coronaviruses for many years. Coronaviruses are common colds. COVID-19 is a coronavirus. COVID-19 is a cold. COVID-19 is not airborne Ebola. If we get a cold, we stay home. We have some chicken soup. This COVID-19 drama is insane. I hear no good health advice from Wilma Wooten about boosting our immune system by taking vitamins, getting exercise, staying hydrated, and getting a good night's sleep. Instead, Wilma is all about lockdown based on easily manipulated PCR tests, which the creator of the PCR test was never meant to be a diagnostic for disease. I ran these tests in school lab, and it'll pick up fragments from prior flu shots, testing positive. Okay, the lady who spoke earlier today is 100% right. Governments are manipulating test results, and CDC was forced to just lower again the total deaths due to COVID. San Diego should not lock down again over positive PCR test results. It's ridiculous.
Lockdowns do not stop viruses. And about a third of us have T-cell immunity anyway. I mean, where'd the flu go? I'm just so frustrated. I mean, you think Governor Newsom is worried about this virus when he's out at fancy dinners with no mask, out marching in crowds with no mask. He shuts down our restaurants and businesses and leaves his winery open. He forces our kids home from school. He sends his kids to private schools. And even his aunt, Nancy Pelosi, got busted getting her hair done with no mask. Newsom does not fear a virus with a 99.9% survival rate. By his own example, he is out hobnobbing at fancy fundraising dinners face-to-face with tons of people. But, oh, you stupid sheep, you stay home, you don't have Thanksgiving or Christmas, don't go to church, no hugging grandma, and no singing. Many years ago, a liar and hypocrite like Governor Newsom would be dragged into the streets and tarred and feathered. This is not about a virus. This is about control. This is about destroying our business. So we're so broke and desperate, we'll accept a global reset in communism.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And that concludes public testimony on this item, Chairman Cox.
Very good. We want to thank all the speakers that have called in this morning. We understand that this is an extremely important issue. It's an extremely emotional issue. And I appreciate the overall tone of the commenters today in regards to their particular position on this. Before I get into board discussion, I just want to make a couple of announcements. Given the closeness to the noon hour, once we conclude the discussion and action from the Board of Supervisors in this item, we'll take a 1-hour break for lunch. And so what that means is that the remaining items on our consent calendar, which includes items 11, 13, 14, 20, and 34 will be picked up when we resume, which presumably is going to be probably 1:15 or so. We'll announce the time that we adjourn to once we get done with this item. Also, before we get into the discussion, I know that the clerk of the board needed to make a clarification on the action that the board took on item number 32. Andrew, do you want to go ahead and clarify that at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, just a quick note for the record that item 32, which was approved on consent, introduced an ordinance amending Division 1 of Title II and Title III of the San Diego County Regulatory Code relating to licenses, business regulations, and business taxes and public safety, morals, and welfare. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Before we get into board comments, let me ask if Dr. Wooten or Chuck Matthews or Nick or Vince have any additional comments they want to make or respond to any questions that have been raised.
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll go into board comments at this time. Do any of my colleagues want to start off? Supervisor Jacob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a couple of comments, and I want to go back to applauding Dr. Wooten and the team for the adjudication report that was presented to the state not too long ago. And just to refresh everybody's memory on that, San Diego's increase, part of that adjudication report presented to the state was, it indicated San Diego's increased cases are not due to the sectors impacted by moving into a more restrictive tier. And then it goes on to talk about, based on the case data for October, this is October, not the most recent data. I understand that, but October, it's clear that San Diego's increased cases are not due to the sector closures impacted moving into a more restrictive tier. So the data then showed minimal COVID spread in these sectors. I want to go through it. I think it's important to remind everybody of this. Restaurants, bars, of all the cases, 7.4%. Retail, 6.6%. Places of worship, 1.9%. K-12 schools, 1.7%. And gyms, 0.4% of cases. So my question then to Dr. Wooten, what has changed, or has her order changed in accordance with the adjudication report in that process? And of course, we know that the state denied the county's request again, to provide us more local control, working with our local businesses, churches, and so on. So what's changed in November in terms of our local public health order?
Supervisor Jacob, thank you for your question. What's changed is the increasing number of cases. At the time that adjudication application was submitted, we were having an average of anywhere between 200 and 300, on occasion 400 cases reported daily. Now we are 600, 700, 800, 900, and again on Sunday we had almost 1,100 cases in a single day. So what has changed is the increasing number in cases, and across the sectors, those numbers have also increased. So, and this is not just in San Diego. This is in California, and this is across the nation. There is an exponential rise in the number of cases that are being seen.
So do you have the updated numbers on the businesses that are, where, in other words, where's the problem today? Because we've got information as of November 10th. And understand there's a week lag time because this is the 16th, but in your adjudication report, it was concluded that the businesses were not the problem. The problem was either in the home gatherings or in the workplace. And the numbers that we have is as of the 10th of November, or if we have them by the 16th. Has that conclusion changed then? Do we know that?
Again, Supervisor Jacob, the conclusion is that cases have increased across all sectors. So the numbers you quoted, the numbers have increased across those sectors. They've increased in the 20 to 49 years of age. It's increased across all sectors. So the numbers are increasing exponentially across all sectors. There's no one driver that's causing this increase in cases.
Okay, so let me just make sure we're all clear on this. So, and you fought diligently with the state for the state to accept the county's position in this adjudication proceeding, and of course lost that unfortunately. So would you be presenting, say, for the month of November, a similar case, or do you know that? I'm kind of looking at, what are we looking at the future now, since we have a lag time here?
No, Supervisor Jacob, that was one moment in time, and we presented that evidence with confidence. But since that time, the numbers have expanded, and we couldn't, in good conscience, create that same argument since that submission, that adjudication submission was sent to the state.
Dr. Woot, my last question, when will we have the updated numbers of restaurants, bars, retail, places of worship, K-12, and gyms, as you had presented in that adjudication report?
We could have it by the close of business today, Supervisor Jacob.
I think that would be very important for the board to see. I'll save my comments and stop at this point, but Mr. Chairman, I do have some comments I'd like to make at a later point in time in our discussion.
Okay, Supervisor Fletcher, you wish to speak?
Just recognizing the incredible difficulty of the situation that we face, and what we get confronted with as a board is a series of bad options, and you're trying to take the least bad option. You're also in a situation where you're having to take steps to avoid something that would be exponentially worse. And so there's no sense of moving lightly or flippantly into any of the decisions that we're forced to make. But absent what we do, we would be confronted with a situation that would be exponentially worse, not just from a public health standpoint, but from an economic standpoint. I was reminded this morning that the state of Iowa, which has roughly the same population as the county of San Diego, has not taken the same approach that we've taken in trying to slow the spread. In San Diego County, we have 365 COVID-related patients in our hospital system. In the state of Iowa, with roughly the same population, they have over 1,500 COVID-related hospitalizations and growing. And so you are forced to take actions that have a negative impact in an effort to avoid a situation that would be far worse and have much greater negative impacts. And it's a really difficult thing. This is one of the reasons why prevention is often not taken seriously in a host of public health related issues, because it's hard to make the case that if you do the prevention, things will be better for the county as a whole, not for every individual person, but for the county as a whole. And so dealing with the global pandemic, the likes of which has not hit our country in 100 years, forces us into unprecedented times and unprecedented situations. And we don't just have to trust that if we weren't doing the things we were doing, the impacts would be far worse. We can look at other places that are not doing the things that we're doing. And we can see what the situation would be here. And the tiered system, and over 94% of California is now in the more restrictive tier, is put in place and designed to limit the exposure in those settings we know are highest risk. And in those settings we know are most likely to contribute to spread. It's not in any way out of a desire to be punitive or infringe on anyone's freedom. It's out of a desire to allow the entire county to navigate through this as best as possible. And so, I think the challenges are great, and it's always easy to say, well, we shouldn't do this because we aren't seeing today the negative impacts, but we know what would happen. And so I think all of us with a great sense of the impact of what we're doing, but also an understanding of the exponentially worse impact if we did not take the actions we're taking, we'll continue to navigate through this as best we can and continue to provide help and support and continue to try to guide our way through responsibly.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor. I'm going to make a motion to accept the Chief Administrative Officer's recommendations, which is to obviously receive a report on COVID-19 response, to ratify all actions taken by the Chief Administrative Officer, Public Health Officer, Director, Department of Purchasing and Contracting, and Director, Department of General Services in response to the local health emergency and local emergency, and take any other actions necessary to address the COVID-19 pandemic emergency response. That would include also the recommendation to transfer $2 million, which was a part of the $100 million that was set aside for the T3 effort, the treatment and testing and testing, to replenish the income replacement program by that $2 million. That would be my motion.
I would second that motion.
Okay, and then under discussion, is there additional comments?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Vice Chairman Desmond.
Okay, I really want to thank staff for the great work they're doing, for Wilma Wooten for their efforts. One of the things that I did note on one of the charts was that of the people, the 29, I guess the 20-year-old to 49-year-olds have the most number of cases. And to a great credit, the people over 70 now, 70 years old are 70 to and older, are only about 7% of the cases. So that's, our whole effort, many months ago was to protect the most vulnerable. And I want to commend staff for doing that. I also want to point out that, I appreciate Supervisor Jacob asking the questions of, well, what's different between October and November, the number of cases, but I also want to point out that the number of tests are actually also quite a bit higher. In October, we were averaging probably about 10 to 11,000 tests per day. And now we're up to about 15,000 tests per day. So about a 30% increase in the number of tests in November as compared to October. And I applaud all the testing that's being done. We need to continue the testing. I applaud the fact that we're actually going into the areas where we know there's more of the virus, where we know that there's, our people are more susceptible, and where we see more cases and outbreaks, we're testing there. So I'm very happy to see that. But, based on the callers calling in today, And based on, the other negative effects that this virus has, or the closures have on people, and we've seen and heard that, I'd really like to see us come to some sort of a balance or compromise, because we're really, these closures, nobody likes them, and I get that. But I think if we had, more of a compromise or a balance moving forward that would allow these businesses that are being shut down, who by our health officer's own admission and everybody else's, they're not really to blame. It's more of a community behavior. And, the people that are defiant, I was on the news this morning, and some business was defying, the acts, and their restaurant was going to stay open. And these are good people. They're not normally law-breaking people. They're normally law-abiding, and they're being defiant primarily because they have no other choice. This restaurant or this business or this that they have, this not only is their income, it's their life savings, it's their dream, it's their mortgage, it's their kids' college payments. It's all those things. And we just kind of shrug it off our shoulders and say, well, it's a state doing this and we have to comply with the state. I just think it's kind of a bad idea that yesterday, I was kind of surprised to hear that we had 29 cease and desist notices that were given out yesterday. So it seems like enforcement will increase until behavior changes. That doesn't work. You need to reward good behavior and reinforce those actions. The restaurateurs that called in today says, we're doing all the things right. We're putting in all the provisions. We put in the plexiglass. We're using we're doing everything Dr. Wooten is asking. And we're being punished. So and then we go in and punish them for staying open because they have no other choice. I think what we've done here, at least here in the state of California, is we've induced complacency. And the complacency by inconsistent messaging, moving the goalpost. We got a tiered system with no green light, which is actually a stagnation system. Someone had mentioned about how our leaders in Sacramento are not adhering to their own rules. And there's no clear data that puts any correlation between the businesses that are being shut down and as to the number of breakouts. I think it's primarily because of complacency and frustration, and it's getting colder outside. People aren't going out as much as they did. People aren't going for walks. People are staying in, and we're actually forcing them to stay in more often by these closures. And as the tracing information has told us, the biggest area where people say they were, or where they were in contact with other people, was at home. And by forcing people not to but you can't go dine in at a restaurant, they're gonna do it in their backyards, they're gonna do it in their homes, they're gonna have friends over, the holidays are coming up, these businesses are just gonna implode with a 3-week shutdown. So I'm gonna make a substitute motion as a compromise, probably won't pass, but I think we have to be realistic with the citizens that we represent. So throughout the past 7 months, I've followed the data and the facts and the science. I've listened to our public health officials and all the great work that they've done. I've tried to get as much information as possible. I've talked to many different sources and put out podcasts and things like that, trying to get all the information when it comes to the virus. And I am very concerned about the increase in positive cases. And the fact that it's more a behavior issue than a business issue is very concerning. And heavier enforcement is not the answer. So I hope everyone realizes and keep in mind that this balance is needed, including in the economic impact. The fact that we have strip clubs open and churches are not heading into the holidays does not make sense. We've got many kids not going to school right now, and that is not optimal. Rady's Children's Hospital reported a substantial increase in suicide attempts, physical abuse, and sexual abuse. And we know it's going to be like this until we have a vaccine. This is the new normal, which is great news about the potential vaccines. But we also have to be knowing that we have to get along with where we are and how we are, we're going to be in purple for a long, long time. Our kids and our neighbors and our loved ones are suffering physically and mentally. I mentioned the woman about to jump off a bridge in North County the other day. In government, we tell the people to abide by a set of rules, and yet our leaders live by another set of rules. Some people are trying to frame this as a choice between opening businesses or saving lives. I don't buy into that. I believe we can do both, and we can do both. We can save lives and have our businesses open. And you've heard me contend, and I still will say it, that churches are essential. So is fitness. So are people being able to earn an income to pay for food and housing and bills. Anxiety is just crazy, off the charts. As Scott Ashton for the Oceanside Chamber said, we've had 36,000 job losses in North County, Oceanside, Carlsbad, San Marcos, Vista, and Escondido. The state is aiming at the wrong targets. We should be focused on those private gatherings and on workplace transmission. People should telecommute from work as much as possible and follow all of Wilma Wooten's suggestions. I also think it's not necessarily safer to close those limited businesses that are open. And as it was already mentioned in October, and Dr. Wooten made a great case in the adjudication saying that for October, that penalizing the impacted sectors for case increases is wrong, as these sectors continue to do the right things on trying to weather the ongoing pandemic and the back and forth reopenings. And again, there's no single driver responsible for the cases. What we need is behavior change. We can't do it by doing the same things we've done all along. Additionally, the closure of indoor restaurants, especially during the winter time where outdoor dining is not optimal, will move individuals into homes and encourage gatherings, which is one of the highest risk venues for COVID transmission. Now, the state has already done for salons and tattoo parlors and barbershops. The state has allowed those businesses to open and operate in the purple tier. Adult establishments are operating indoors right now. Let's stand up and have a compromise to work with our businesses and the residents of San Diego County that allow them to stay open at least to what they were in red. Restaurants at 25%, churches to 25% up to 100 people, museums at 25%, and gyms. So I'll start the motion finally. I think what we first have to do is make businesses aware of the risks and the potential that they may face by the state. But I'd like to make the motion that we support all businesses that have been forced to close indoor operations, the gyms, the restaurants, the places of worship, and museums, to be able to go back to their capacities allowed in the red tier. I'd also like to request that our public health officers push the state to implement these businesses to operate in the purple tier as they were in the red. And in the meantime, we limit our cease and desist closures to only enforcement of safety practices and not shutting down businesses. In other words, make the red the new purple. That's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chairman Desmond. Is there a second to that motion? Motion dies for lack of a second. Additional board comments. Supervisor Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I came into this meeting today prepared to consider all options, which would include legal action if there was a good legal case to be made to the state. However, and that was based on the adjudication report that Dr. Wooten and our health officials put together for the state. However, the numbers have changed, and we won't know exactly what those numbers are, where the problems are, in order to create a fair system here. I think it's really important that we stick with the facts and we stick with the science in making our decisions as moving forward, as hard as it is. And I know, and I understand the frustration as a local official. I am frustrated because we continue to not have the ability locally simply to work with our local public health folks in making our decisions for what's best in the county. Having said that, in listening to the speakers, I want to underscore the two individuals that spoke on behalf of almost 5,000 doctors in this region, the San Diego Medical Society. I have to respect what they have presented to the board today. And basically the message is follow the health orders. And we're not gonna, I'm convinced we are not gonna solve the economic crisis until we can solve the health crisis. And then most speakers I heard from today, what they really are asking for is civil disobedience, asking for this board to enact civil disobedience. And if this board were to do that, or individuals or businesses were to do that and move forward in that direction, I think all of us need to clearly understand the consequences of civil disobedience and be willing to accept those consequences. Right now, I have to conclude that the best option in front of us, based on what I know and what I found out today, is to follow the public health orders that will keep San Diegans in the best position of continuing in a safe and trying to avoid many lives being lost because of this virus. However, I also note in the report on compliance and how things are going, and I understand some of the businesses are willing to take the risk of staying open versus closing down and maybe then having to close down for good. I get that. And the fact is, unless these businesses are not blatant about it and kind of in your face, like going on television and announcing to the world that we're going to defy the public health orders, I would suggest that's probably not a good approach. But on the other hand, I don't blame a business that is willing to take that risk of staying open, even the inside dining. I can't responsibly suggest that path, but I understand if a business is willing to take that risk. We are operating under a complaint basis. And I know a lot of my businesses out in East County, the restaurants and so on, are operating safely. They're using proper protocols. And again, I don't blame them if they want to continue in that way and knowing that there is a risk involved in that. So that's where I am today. And I will support the motion on the table. I think that is the most responsible action moving forward. I look forward then to some updated numbers, particularly as to the percentage in each of those sectors, whether it's restaurants or retail or churches or gyms, so we can really zero down on where the problem exists and really try to target the actions of where the problem exists and not just blanket everybody with the same approach, the broad brush approach. So those are my comments, Mr. Chairman. I thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. You know, being in elective office, being on this board of supervisors means you've got to make some tough decisions sometimes. And I have to tell you, I think what we're confronted with this COVID-19 is probably the most difficult decision that I've made on this board of supervisors. I know that depending on how I vote, it could have impact on the viability of businesses, whether businesses are going to continue to be able to operate once the pandemic is behind us, or whether they're going to have to close, whether people are going to lose their jobs, whether people are going to be in a very tough financial position. I understand that, and I get it. And I appreciate all the comments that have been made by the speakers today. But also being in a public office means you've got to make these tough decisions based on the greater good. In other words, you know, we got sworn into office because we're going to uphold the laws of this state. Certainly public safety, I think all of us would agree, would be our highest priority. And almost just as important is the public health. And that's a key responsibility of the County of San Diego. Now, you know, we are actually, as counties, creatures of the state of California. And we're subservient to them in many respects. We carry out their programs. And obviously the state of California is set criteria in regards to what they consider to be safe operating guidelines during this public health crisis, the likes of which we've never seen in our lifetime. I mean, maybe there's a few people around that would remember the 1918 influenza epidemic, but that's probably pretty far and few between that will recall that. And, you know, we find ourselves in this very unique situation that keeps getting worse and worse. We thought we had kind of at least a yellow light during the summer and during the warmer weather, but as we get into this colder season, we see the need to make modifications in those tiers and the implementations of the public health guidelines. I don't necessarily like it, but I believe as an elected official, I have to do what is in the best interest of the greater good, all the citizens in San Diego County, and that is trying to make sure we get this pandemic under control. Now, the good news is we've heard over the last week or so is there's a couple of different vaccines that look like they're going to be coming online. Unfortunately, they'll never come quick enough, but hopefully by the end of the year or after the first of the year, we'll begin to see some light at the end of this tunnel. I don't know whether we're going to be in purple to the end of the year or not. I hope we're not, but it's really up to us, the citizens of San Diego County, to do those things that we can do to prevent the spread of this virus, which includes, again, safe sanitary conditions, washing your hands, social distancing of 6 feet, wearing facial coverings, avoiding large gatherings, which is going to be almost impossible to do, or at least very difficult as we enter the Thanksgiving and holiday seasons. But I ask the citizens of San Diego County to work with us in an effort to try to contain this as quickly as we can and get this whole chapter behind us. I think we will see better days ahead, but unfortunately, we've got some pretty tough days still in front of us. Are there any other comments? If not, would the clerk please call the roll?
Thank you. Chairman Cox?
Aye.
Supervisor Jacob?
Aye.
Supervisor Gaspar? Supervisor Fletcher?
Fletcher, aye.
Vice Chairman Desmond?
No.
Chairman Cox, that motion passes with Supervisor Desmond voting no and Supervisor Gaspar absent, all remaining supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, we thank everybody's comments on this. We understand it's an extremely important and very emotional issues for all citizens in San Diego County. But we do hope that you'll abide by the public health orders from the County of San Diego and the state of California. We're gonna go ahead and take a lunch break until 1:15. Give us about 45 minutes, hopefully, to get a bite to eat, and then we will reconvene and pick up with remaining items on today's agenda. If you probably we'll call back in and we'll get you in the queue as these items come up. Mr. Potter, clerk of the board, do we have any other things we need to cover before we take a recess?
We do not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we will reconvene then at 1:15.